Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Pixelated Echoes. This is welcome. So we're gonna have another fiery episode. You see some of the topics kind of below. We got some stuff to discuss. But before we always start the show with what we've been up to. I'm gonna get straight to the introduction. So I want to see kind of want to see what Fuzzy's up to this week, and then we'll get into what I've been playing, what I've been doing. But to my co-hosts, the racing Felix the Cat, legend, the Fuzzy Belvedere. How you doing today, man? And what have you been playing this week?
Well, I'm doing great. Glad to be here with you tonight. Just been bopping around playing some random games. Still on that State of Decay 2 fix, killing zombies. But I decided to hop back into Division 2 recently. They have like some sort of like 5 times XP, which it's weird. It was to the point where I was getting like two, like some of those the caches that you get where it's like a weapon and a piece of gear or something like that. I was getting 2 of those like almost every other minute it seemed. So I don't know if it's broken. Some people were not getting, I guess, the 5 times reward, but somehow I went like 100 and I think 2 or 104 levels in like it felt like 30 minutes, but had some fun playing that for a bit. Looking forward to Division 3. Although Ubisoft, we'll probably get into it, but yeah, they got some stuff to work on. But outside of that, still playing Forza Horizon 5. Was hoping to see maybe a peek at Forza Horizon 6 at TGS, but I'm sure we'll get into that as well. Fingers crossed they still, target Tokyo or have it somewhere in Japan. But outside of that, I'm finally over the 800 unique cars without buying the DLC or the add-on cars and things like that. So yeah, I've been collecting a lot of cars. But yeah, that game is still so much fun. Been listening to feedback from some friends on what is that Solar Crown, Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. Was looking to get that at a sale, maybe closer to holidays, but it seems like they just went in the wrong direction and so much potential. It's frustrating seeing what could have been like a great racing sim or even an arcadey sim kind of, you know, like basically think of like Grand Theft Auto Online without the guns and robbery and stuff, just having cars and racing, and then you can buy houses, clothes, and all that stuff. I know it probably sounds silly to talk about buying houses and clothes and stuff in a racing game, but
Yeah, that's
that
cool.
was part of the persona to it, where it's like, hey, you want to feel like you're, a millionaire or a billionaire in Hong Kong, and have access to unlimited, cars and things like that. Yeah, that it looked like that was going to be the game, but handling mechanics, some of the game choices, some of the server things, hopefully they turn it around, but it's not looking good right now. So fingers crossed it bounds back or something that the modding community on at least on PC keeps it alive. A set of courses, I think like 12 years old now, or at least it feels like that. Set of Corsa 2 is not too far around the corner, but I was hoping that we would have like a racing game that people can mod and do like the in and out of traffic, like the not really the drifting, but like the speed through traffic stuff, or the drifting down the mountainside or something along those lines. A set of Corsa has been like the go-to for stuff like that, but I was hoping Solar Crown would be that too. But yeah,
Yeah,
we'll see.
and with the like, you said you have like 800 collected cars. Do you find
Mhm.
yourself just like at this point like you have so many that you just keep collecting it, but you still drive like the same like 2 3 cars, or you find yourself actually kind of experimenting and
I
going
I
in?
try I try to experiment. Like I do have my favorite drift cars, which aren't the drift cars in the game. I actually dialed up a 370Z, and I have that where manual trans, put it in third gear, and that thing has a lot of rear wheel horsepower to it. So it gets me through any like drift challenges and stuff. But I'll try to get a couple other cars that I think should be good drift cars to, do that. But that's still one of my favorites. But I'll every now and then try a new one. Still trying to find my ultra lightweight, like A800 class car that, for the amount of money and points that you put into it, it's like a pretty unbeatable car. Like before my Corvette C4, that was a Z, I think it was a Z06 with the half roof, or the hard top. Basically, it was like it didn't have the bubble back to it. That one was pretty cool, where lightweight wheels, it was winning against pretty much everything but some of the quote unquote cheater cars, like
Mm.
that three-wheel beast that you can pretty much obliterate anything in the drag race, or some of the smaller like mini cars where you fully load them out and those things are doing like wheelie stands down the drag strip. But like in real world terms, that would have been like a 10-second, quarter mile car, which isn't too bad without doing some serious tubbing and lightweight stuff to it. But yeah, I still have fun with a lot of different cars. But I would say my real life favorites tend to either be the vets in the game, or the one that I recently got was the Lucid Air Sapphire, which, if anybody knows about electric cars, if you thought the Tesla was at the ludicrous speed series, or the Model S that they have, where it was like their hypercar kind of killer, the Lucid Sapphire is even faster. At a dead stop, or for like from a stop, a cold start, rolling start, it beats it by about a car length, and it can actually turn. That was the one thing, that not knocking Tesla, because they're awesome cars too, but if you wanted to corner like a Porsche, yeah, the Tesla wasn't doing that. But the Lucid, with its magnetic ride, and the traction control setup that they have per wheel, that does these millionths of a second kind of updates, yeah, that's like one of my favorites. But anything Chevrolet, anything Corvette, and Ford Mustangs, those are my favorites, because they don't have my exact Camaro that I had 2010 SSRS, that was that classic white with the orange stripe, orange interior. But
All
they
the people who, all I know is anybody who drives a Ford Mustang in Georgia, ooh, you know they are a certain type of driver. I'll that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Shout out to all the people in the chat. We already got a couple of people who got Decado coming on in, Legendary Yobi, J Mac, Prince Green, and RJ. Appreciate all you guys for dropping on in. Yobi started off with, you got to extend that mini intro with that fire ass song to a little bit longer. Here's the thing: the intro is all, it's all just determined on when we want to start, because it can go in and loop and have like the song and stuff. But let's say I'm like, I want to start right now. Yeah, just the way I do it behind the scenes, I can have it play as long as we want. Because it's like the 2D, it's like the 2D characters kind of vibing, and then the music can play. But I made it so it's not a predetermined time. I could just kind of just start when I want. So yeah, sometimes you guys will hear more of the intro. Sometimes I'm just like, screw it, let's start right now. So you guys might hear less of the intro sometimes. But just for you, Yobi, I will make sure at the end of this stream, I will just go straight to the intro, just so you can hear it a little bit longer. Then I'll cut to the outro, because people like the outro. The outro like beat, like, I forgot how it goes, but they like the outro beat. So I'll do both just for you. But shout out. Yes, yeah. Fuzzy's the co-host. RJ decided to join me on this pixelated journey. So yeah, it's kind of both of ours in a way. But if you see like me, or if you see like someone talking trash and it says Pixelated Echo underneath the name, there's probably me that's talking trash. Yeah, I thought I should mention that. But yeah, so what have I been playing? Let's see. I've mostly been playing RoboCop. I'm not gonna lie.
nice.
I just been That's just been my game this week. I've been trying to beat it. I posted a clip on Twitter. It was like such a E3 type moment. That was insane. Like I like grabbed this guy and as he was about to run me over on a bike, so I just grab him and then immediately throw him just randomly throw him like, I don't see anybody coming in. And as
Mhm.
he's about to land, a motorcycle just comes in as soon as I throw him, and then it explodes. It looked like it was planned, but I promise you, I had no idea that dude was there. But I made it look like I intended it, and those are the coolest clips. But yeah,
Yeah.
I just been playing RoboCop. Um, what I like about the game so far is one, it's kind of open world, which I wasn't expecting. Like, you get these missions where it's basically like, hey, you have to solve like 6 crimes in this area, and it kind of encourages you to like look around the city because you have no
Mhm.
idea where it is. So you're just like, okay, well, I guess I'll go down this dark alleyway and see what's down here. And so they got like the city is so detailed and kind of grimy. That Detroit grime, um, that I don't know. It's very the graphics are very good. It's probably the best showcase so far for the Unreal Engine 5 besides Hellblade 2,
Mhm.
I would say, in terms of like you looking at the city. It's kind of Hellblade 2 obviously is the best, but if you were to like Hellblade 2 has different type of environments. Like you're looking at foliage mostly. You're looking at outside sort of Icelandic landscape. With RoboCop, obviously you're not going to get that. You are looking at grimy city, shiny streets, puddles, stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, I'm really enjoying it so far. It feels arcadey, feels like I am RoboCop. There's a lot more choice-driven things than I expected. I didn't know that was going to be a thing in this game.
Hmm.
Where you can just like there's this politics sort of thing going on where someone's trying to reinvent the city of Detroit, and this other one wants to kind of keep it the same. So a lot of the citizens are with that guy because they don't trust the new guy. I honestly don't know who I should go with right now because a lot of the homeless people and stuff like, yeah, I hate the new guy and stuff like that. But I'm like, bro, you are homeless. Don't you want like I don't know. That's kind of what I was thinking, but I don't know if he's secretly evil or something like that.
Mhm.
So the only reason I stopped playing is because there was a decision I was confronted with. And I didn't know what to do, so I just turned it off. So I'll eventually we'll get back to it. But I've been having a really good time with that game. It's been really fun, unexpected. I was talking with or I posted on one of Pollen's posts. He's been playing a lot of different strategy games right now, like Ara.
Mhm.
And I played a little bit of Age, the new Age game. I can't remember what it was called. What's the new Age? It's like Age.
What
Um,
the mythology
yeah, I guess
or is
it's
it?
mythology. I played a little bit of it, and I was surprised how well it played on console. Like for some reason, I just like, it's probably not going to be the greatest on console. I don't know why. It was just an inner thought I had. No proof. I didn't look up anything on it, but
Mhm.
I started playing. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. How you can like select your group of like your battalion essentially.
Mhm.
Like you can basically like hold the to say it's the A button and it kind of like highlights this green thing. I don't know. I just thought that was a cool little thing. Instead of you individually picking your soldiers, like, hey, move over here, you could just be like, whoop, all of you guys move in one. I don't know. I just thought that was a cool thing
Yeah.
that they added there. And I played a little bit of it, just the tutorial section. And I was like, oh, cool. Then I jumped back into RoboCop, but I definitely want to check that out. I'm not a huge strategy person, so for those who watch our shows, that's a big thing for me. I'm just saying. I'm normally not a huge strategy guy, but I was enjoying what I played so far. So we're about to get to our first topic. Let's see how you guys are doing. You guys are talking about football. Catch replay tomorrow. This great beard needs to sleep. Good night, man. 2 a.m. here in UK. Have goodness. Yeah, I did the when we did our anniversary show. That was like 4 a.m. No, no
Yeah.
thanks, Tom Hanks. Not a good time. So yeah, go to bed. Watch the replay. Hope you have a good night's rest. Outro beat is what I meant. Oh, okay. So if it's the outro beat, I will play that longer, just for you. You could write some a track to that outro. RJ said, "Cool. I just subscribed. Both of you guys are cool. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it." 3-bit still hasn't finished the disc. I don't know what you're talking about. I never said I would write a disc. That wasn't me. No, I feel like, listen, I've been experimenting. I've been actually doing a music video for another artist, whatever, and I've had to scan like people's faces and stuff. And I did show Mav like a funny scan face of his, and he was like freaked out by it. Um, but that was just a test of what's to come possibly in the future. It's all just about time. I got so many projects going on. But yeah, let's jump into our first topic, Fuzzy. So
Yeah.
this first topic is going to be very interesting. Let me put up our second screen. All right, so this topic is essentially, I wanted to start the show with the two different showcases. So we had the Xbox Tokyo Game Show showcase, and then we had the PlayStation State of Play. So how I kind of wanted to do this is maybe we could just go through what was there
Mhm.
at both showcases, kind of say what our highlights are, and then we give our rating. Let's start with the State of Play, and I'll give you guys some cool gameplay. Or the State of Play will be showing on my over here, my right. So you guys probably your left. So at the State of Play, we had Astrobot.
Yeah.
What did you think about Astrobot overall?
I was kind of surprised that they have DLC for it that fast.
Yeah,
Not to critique it in a negative way, but it almost seems like that may probably should have been with the original release. But it was cool that they, had a call out to Stellar Blade and Helldivers 2 mixed in there, along with like 8 other bots that you can find. They're doing the speed run thing, which was like what they did with the original Astrobot pack in for the PS5, because that was like probably the most interesting thing for me was trying to beat, timer or the beat the timer and beat times of your friends on like your friends list and stuff like that. But
yeah,
I'm not interested in Astrobot enough to give it a try, but it's cool for those that were enjoying the game. They're continuing to support it, and it sounds like they're going to continue doing that, throughout. Like as I guess they get more IP. So let's say probably after, um, you know, Ghost 2 or whatever. We'll get into that, but probably after that comes out, they'll probably have a bot for that as well. So yeah,
yeah.
it was pretty cool.
I thought it was pretty cool. Like the whole speed running thing. I actually love that stuff. That's actually how you appeal to me personally, because if I beat a level and then I see that I'm like last place on my friends list, I'm like, oh, whoo, run that back. That's personally just me. I used to be like pretty competitive in like Arkham Asylum, for example, and I was the top in the world, or the top 5 in the world at Arkham Asylum for a little bit. Then people, they wrecked me. I don't know. I'm probably like last now. Um, but yeah, I love like speed running. I love challenges, stuff like that. And then that was like the main thing I guess they announced. It says Team Asobi announced Astrobot will receive new speed run levels and 10 new special bots, which is pretty much what you mentioned. So yeah, it looked interesting. We'll see. It's like, for me, if it's, this is just my thing, my preference, my biases. I am very comfortable on the Xbox. I'm very comfortable. Even I'm starting to play more PC stuff. So if you are bringing me to the PlayStation, it has to be like, let's be it. And a lot of people are really liking Astrobot, so I might have to check it out. I did like the initial Astrobot,
Mhm.
um, because it's like the only PlayStation game that utilized the controller kind of like that. Um,
Yeah.
like no other game used the controller like that. It actually feels part of the experience. Other games where it's just like just blow on it, or just like you get a little bit of a different rumble, or like
Yeah.
with I think Last of Us has it where you kind of it's like the bow. So like when you're
Mhm.
I can't remember if it's Last of Us or if it's another game, but I remember
Well,
this
they
one.
did it with Horizon Forbidden West. Like you could
Okay.
feel some of the tension as you pull the arrow back.
Yeah.
With GT7, the triggers for the gas and brake were good. Although I think they could have probably turned it up a notch in comparison because I'm used to like, and I guess people forgot that they had haptic triggers on the actual Elite controllers. So I also used to that feel for like Forza and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
it's still pretty good for like GT7 as well. But like you said, Astrobot went above and beyond. The way they have it tuned when you're walking through sand or you're wading through water or just flying or have like the water jets shooting out of your boots or whatever kind
Yeah.
of thing. All of that you could feel as if it was actually happening in your hands. So they that's where they definitely stood out and shined as far as
Yeah.
that setup.
So if it's anything like the first one, and that they just brought that to that level, then I'm probably gonna like it. Um, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I end up jumping into it or not. My PS5 has been dusty for a minute, so that might be a game I do check out eventually. The next game that you showed is actually on the screen right now. I believe actually this might be a little bit out of order, so let me just go through. I'll just say these kind of out of order. They did show the Horizon Zero Dawn remastered.
Yeah.
Um, so I do have some criticisms of this. Obviously, like one of my criticisms is like, for one, this didn't need to be a remaster, in my opinion. Right? I'm sure some people out there are like, yay! But when even when you're seeing comparison pictures, it just looks
Mhm.
like the latest picture has an Instagram filter on it.
Yeah.
Like it looks like he was like without makeup, with makeup. That's honestly what it looks like to me because the game already looked fantastic. It
Yeah.
already looked great. Um, I was never, maybe it's because I'm not a huge Horizon person. Like I always would get bored playing the game. Like people say, keep playing, keep playing. I'm like, I want to keep playing or have that itch in the beginning, not
Mhm.
like 10 hours into the experience. But um, yeah, both Horizons I couldn't really get into, so definitely not for me. But I didn't think it needed to be a remaster. But where I have the most criticism for is the fact that they are upcharging for the original game. So
Mhm.
if you were like, oh yeah, well I don't really want to buy the remaster, let me just buy the first one. It looked good. There, Sony probably anticipated people were going to do that, and they upped the price of that game, which is so crazy to me that no one is really calling that out, or at least not to the level that I think people should be.
Mhm.
Just imagine, for example, let's just turn that to another game. If I were doing the Halo MCC collection, and right before I'm about to release the Halo MCC collection, you make sure that you upcharge Halo 3, upcharge ODSTs, just so you can kind of funnel people, like kind of pigeonhole people into a specific place where people had to buy your either your latest one, or you just make it harder for people, or just basically that sort of money hungry thing. I feel like
Mhm.
Sony, like each company's trying to get your money, but Sony, who they really are trying to get your money. Sometimes it really feels like you're like, all right, pay up for everything. So that's just my critique on that. What
Yeah.
did you think about the remaster? Like, did you like the visuals? Did you like, you didn't mind any of what I critiqued, or like
No,
how did
no.
you feel about it?
I kind of felt the same. Like for me, I didn't think it needed a remaster. Like I have it now already. And it looked great once they had it for like PC. I thought that was as good as it got. It didn't have to match Horizon Forbidden West with the facial glow. Like that's the biggest thing for me, where the biggest standout difference between the two games was the facial glow or the highlights for the characters while you're doing like the
That
cutscenes
sort
and
of
things like
hero
that.
light
Hmm.
thing. Oh yeah, yeah.
And I I could care less about it. I mean, yeah, it looks nice, but it's a game, not a movie, so it's not necessary for me. So I wasn't planning on buying the remaster. It would have made more sense to me if they bundled them together. If you want it to look like the second one, bundle them or something. Make some sort of package deal. But what was kind of scummy, at least in my opinion, like you said, first of all, they took the game out of their PS Plus service like a little ways back. So that kind of should have been a signal that they're probably going to try and resell it to you, because they did the same thing with Spider-Man just before Spider-Man 2 came out. But the thing that kind of stinks, in my opinion, is that it was 1999 because it's one of the classics. It's considered a PlayStation classic at this point. Now it's 20, or no, it's 39.99. So they basically doubled the price. And if it, I wouldn't have a complaint about it if that doubling of price included the $10 upcharge, so that way you get the new remastered, assets or whatever. But now you go from 20 to 40 for it, plus you got to pay a $10 extra to get it. It's like, what is this about? Like, why not just keep the olive branch out there to your customer base? It's like, it is a classic. Sure, you're going to have a lot of those that may not have picked it up before, which, by the way, they gave it away for free during COVID. I don't know if people remember. And I'm waiting for the complaints when people go to try and upgrade that version and they're not allowed to.
Oh yeah.
But we'll see. Maybe Sony will forget. Maybe I should keep my mouth shut, and the people that got it for free will get that $10 update if they want. But to me, it's not the worth the $10. Like that's one of those things they should have um, catered to their customer base in a way that they did with God of War with the DLC for Ragnarok, and what they did with Ghost of Tsushima with the well, not the DLC, but like uh, the multiplayer version that they added, and they did a couple of other updates to the game, and they gave that away for free. Um, I think this should have been one of those, because all it's really doing is giving the characters a glow for cutscenes. And I mean, yeah, there's probably a few other upgrades here and there, but I don't know. It just feels weird to me. But Sony fans will cheer it and be happy with it. My PlayStation copy will remain the original, and I'll be perfectly fine with that.
This
So.
is the kind of the problem you run into when you have a game that's not even that old,
Mhm.
and then you remaster it. Like certain things, you're like kind of like the art direction that was in the past one compared to the new one. And that to me is pretty relevant with this one. Like there's certain like even Aloy. I think she kind of looks better in certain scenes from the original. That's just
Mhm.
because what they did in the new one is they kind of, I guess, gave her makeup. I don't really know what that is, but they gave her like a glow of which could be the lighting. But in
Yeah.
the old one, you could kind of like see her eyes a little bit more. Yeah, it's just like look at comparisons to see kind of what I'm talking about. But um, yeah, I don't know. In terms of this is not even about graphics per se. It's more so about like the concept or the art style, and that's what
Mhm.
happens when you have a game that is not even that old. It becomes a thing where when you start to change it a little bit, you're changing kind of the art style rather than the graphics. But yeah, I don't know. Not for me. I hate the shady stuff that Sony is doing with upcharging the previous game so that way they can make even more money. It's very scumbag kind of behavior, but
Yeah.
uh, yeah, it is what it is. And Big Memo says yes, they're gonna have to buy it to get the upgrade. That's awesome. That is awesome if that is true. So in relation to Horizon, we got Lego Horizon Adventures making an appearance. I remember in the state of play, they kind of showed they showed like this sort of theme park thing with
Mhm.
like a roller coaster, and they showed some other stuff. I'll try and see if I can see it in the footage so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But what did you think about Lego Horizon Adventures?
All right. My this is this is sarcastic, joking take, but it sucks that they're not putting it on Xbox. It's like they're putting it on the Switch. Why not put it on the Xbox? But truth be told, I don't care. Like I like the Horizon, franchise to some extent as far as Forbidden West and Zero Dawn, but I don't I don't want this Lego thing. Like it, and I'm not the normal Lego game player, although the Star Wars one was probably one of the best ones. But even that, it's like, it's cool to play it for a couple hours, and then for me, it's like, all right, I just want to go back to like playing the first Descendant or Division or something that's more I guess adult. Not knocking those that enjoy Lego games. They are still fun. They have mixed humor where there's stuff that kids will laugh at and there's stuff that us grown-ups will laugh at as well. But I I I don't know. I think if you're going to expand the Horizon um, IP, Lego makes sense, but that's not the one for me. I'm waiting to see if they still do that multiplayer one that kind of leaked out where the players look like Fortnite. I just want them to do a knockoff of like Monster Hunter and be done with it. Like that to me would be the better multiplayer Horizon spinoff. Games as a service. Make it like Monster Hunter. Sell me the same cosmetics that Capcom tries to with the different hairstyles and face paint and all that stuff. Um, that would make more sense. But the for the Lego thing, it looks fun. Just not for me. But kudos to those that will enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah. I actually don't know what to think about it. I think like the first off, the graphics are awesome. I like the Lego games seem, if you like compare to what they initially started off with to now, the graphics have like vastly improved on all the Lego games. I don't know like who's behind the Lego games, or like if they have a creative director and stuff and they pushing stuff. Um, Graphics are impressive. That was the first thing I noticed when they were showing like the clips. I'm like, wow, that the shiny Lego bricks on that tree looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Um, yeah, I don't know. I usually tend to like the Lego games, so I probably will like this one. Um, it seemed it's it is weird that they didn't want to put it on Xbox. I do think it's just it is a competition thing for Sony. Like they do not like Xbox. Even if they feel like it could get them a different audience or whatever, they really with this move it was very obvious. They're like, ooh, we do not want to support Xbox. I thought that was like kind of weird with this type of game,
Mhm.
but it's always going to be like that for a minute. But overall, I thought like the graphics look good, the gameplay looks pretty fun. It seemed like they had like collectibles, like the skins that they're trying to push for people to get, I guess, to pre-order it or something like that. None of the skins. My first thought when I saw that was like, I really don't like any of the skins, the in-game unlocks. Like I really don't care about it. But I think that's just because that the mostly the aesthetic of Horizon I almost don't even really vibe with to begin with. So that's probably why. Like like oh, she's wearing like a black tunic with designs as opposed to a white one. I'm just like it, it to me it doesn't like stand out. Like if you would have to really just dive in and make it look different. I don't know. I just never really cared about the Horizon like style and things like that. That's just me, but I'm sure other people will really like it. But overall, I would play it. It looks fun if I had like a group of people. Um, it's not like it's like oh I need to go out there and buy a PS5 Pro for Horizon. Like no, it's very much a like on sale type of thing that I would check it out. But yeah, look pretty fun. Look decent. Next on the list we have they did talk about the PS5 Pro for a little bit. Um, we could honestly do a whole stream about the PS5 Pro and what our thoughts are on it. But from the little bits I guess that you saw, I'm trying to remember exactly what they talked about. Maybe I think it was just comparisons of different games. What did you think about what they kind of showed with the PS5 Pro?
Th- This was probably like when we get to the scores of the show, this was probably where I thought they definitely missed an opportunity. As someone that already has a PS5 and needs some more convincing to get the PS5 Pro, like right now, it's not worth the extra 400 I'd have to do if I trade in my PS5 at GameStop or whatever. But to me, showing the PS5 Pro there, they should have ended the show with the title, and I'm pretty sure we'll get to it here soon. That title should have had like, hey, and this is what it looks like on the PS5. But if you get the PS5 Pro, this is what the upgrade will be in buying that. Like they had the perfect opportunity to show that new, well, not really new IP, but the that new game that's coming in 25 and show the difference of how it plays on the regular PS5, which that's probably what they showed, and then what it could look like on a PS5 Pro. Now, they might not be that far along, but that should have been a couple of things that they highlighted, whether it's ray tracing, specular highlights, particle effects. I mean, there were some awesome things shown in that trailer for that last game, but they didn't sell me on the PS5 Pro. And this would have been a good opportunity to, nudge me beyond just, oh, GT7 has now finally has ray tracing on track. That's great. That's awesome. I'm not spending $400 just for that. Show me a new game or several new games where I'm getting 60 frames or I'm getting 60 frames and ray tracing or something to that effect. And I think that last game was that opportunity and they just kind of fell asleep at the wheel. Like, especially just before pre-order day. Like that should have been like, oh no, this is the way we're going to convince you to cough up that extra money for the pre-order, type of thing. But it didn't. I think that was the biggest missed opportunity in the entire show. But that's just my take on it.
Yeah, I had similar thoughts. I think the that Digital Foundry does a better job at showcasing the PS5 Pro than PlayStation. And even then it's like I made a post and so many people was like so many Sony fans were coming for me. But I was saying like that they're showing me comparisons of like Spider-Man and Ratchet and Clank and all these different stuff. And I really was squinting of like trying to see the differences. And people were like, "Well, you're watching it on like your phone." I'm like, "No." Earlier, like right underneath that post, because I knew people were going to say that. I was watching it on my 77-inch TV. It's a CX LG. A little brag there, but very awesome TV. But I was just honestly squinting at like what the differences are. I'm like, oh, you added contrast to this, or like that's what it really looked like in a lot of the pictures, and I'm seeing like crowd differences on the PS5 Pro for Ratchet and Clank and Spider-Man. Like I get less crowd. What is going on? Like I really I'm confused because like while Digital Foundry is saying like, oh, there's these massive differences in quality and stuff, and I'm looking, I'm like, am I blind? Like, is there crazy differences? And when I just mentioned that post, I guess a lot of people was like, it's more of a feeling thing. If it's more of a feeling thing, like as I'm playing, I kind of feel the differences, then that's where I can see what people could be talking about, because a lot of um, like frame rate sort of things is it is a thing you feel. So if that's what
Mhm.
people are kind of talking about, like it's not really picture noticeably different. Like the picture looks the same, um, but it's something you feel. Like it maybe you feel better frame rate. Then cool, I sure, right? That to me still isn't worth the $700. Like
Yeah.
I'm like cool. However, yeah, that's still a lot. You're kind of asking for it. For me personally, it's I'm sure it could be for other people out there that want a blend. Like that is pretty cool. Like you get a blend of um what is it, like quality mode, and they're
Mhm.
basically trying to get rid of those modes and kind of just start to combine them. But I think the problem for me is it's not in the games I kind of want it to be in. And it's kind of like inconsistent, and I don't know. To me it's not worth the price.
Yeah.
That's just a personal thing. Some people, they're like, yeah, this is awesome. I'm like, kudos. But like what I'm seeing, me having to squint to see the differences, and then you are saying like it's more of a feeling thing, like cool, but like uh, like
Yeah.
$700, it's just asking for a lot. So, um, yeah, Digital Foundry and IGN have been showing off the PS5 Pro way
Mhm.
better than PlayStation here. So yeah, I agree with you in thinking that um, that maybe yeah, that was a missed opportunity for this show. It's like the
Yeah.
newest thing for them. Not even to mention all the games that they're comparing are games I've played and beat already. So you're adding that on top of it, where I'm just like, okay, like if I'm releasing like a brand new console for $700, you would think like, oh, bam, here is a showcase game that shows that it's brand new.
Mhm.
It's kind of hinting on the power of the PS5 Pro, and you're showing me Spider-Man 2, and you're showing me, games I've already played before. So I'm like, okay, so it kind of leads me to Ghost of Yute, which is actually on this screen right now.
Yeah.
Um, like here's the thing. So this was the highlight of the show for me personally,
Mhm.
right? But it was also in a way one of my disappointments, because of the fact that I'm like, okay, you have the PS5 Pro, you're pushing power and stuff, and it looks like the first one. And that's just me. I really hope I'm not, no biases or something is coming through, but that was honestly like when I first was watching the showcase, I was like,
Mhm.
dang, like I was kind of hoping like this would be the game that kind of pushes the graphical envelope, but this looks like it could be a DLC to the first game, and I hope
Yeah.
I'm not coming out like oh, but that was honestly my thought. I'm sure it's gonna be a great game. I loved the first game.
Mhm.
I think just my expectations of it were like for them to push some things here and there graphically. The first game was already a really beautifully looking game.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, what were your thoughts on Ghosts of Yute?
Well, one, I'm glad that they decided to show it at this showcase. It seems like they heard the cries from their fan base to some extent. I would include myself in that because that's the game that I thought should have won Game of the Year when the first one came out.
Yeah,
That's the game I've been saying that, whether they have a hopes and dreams showcase or not, they better have something for, the next one in the series for Ghost of Tsushima. Um, so seeing it at the showcase was, yeah, like you said, it was the highlight. No doubt about
yeah,
that.
for sure.
Visually, like the first one looked great. This one looks, there are certain things that look a little bit better in comparison. The key thing I was looking to see were some of the rock formations, like some of the mountains that you would walk up against, because that was like, in my opinion, the weakest area for Ghost of Tsushima. Some of the rocks didn't quite, they almost had like that distant, like the one step down where they're not as detailed look to some extent, even when you were close to them, and that's even on the PS5. And even after Iki Island, it was kind of like that, where some of the shading or rendering of the rocks don't look as detailed as some other games that are out there. Perfect example. Look at rocks. Although people will be like, "Oh, Hellblade 2 is a next gen game through and through," but
Yeah.
that's detailed rocks. I mean, and anything Ubisoft with their Snowdrop engine, those are detailed rocks. Even the rocks in like Death Stranding are much more detailed. Now that doesn't take anything away from gameplay. Those are just rocks. That's backdrop stuff, not the biggest deal. But seeing the game, like much like you made mention, and it was kind of my disappointment that they didn't say, okay, this is the way it's going to look on like the standard PS5, and then a split screen of what it looks like on the PS5 Pro. Because to me, if you want to get that extra $300 or $400 out of me, that would have been the thing to do. And
Yep.
to be honest, that may have been enough of the push. I can't promise yay or nay, but that would have been a lot more convincing than anything else they showed in that showcase. But all of that aside, hey, they saved me money. I don't have to worry about it. It's no sweat off my back at that point. But I love the fact that they're continuing the ghost aspect, but not necessarily with Jin, which I don't feel any particular way whether they would continue the story with Jin or if they didn't. I think as long as the mechanics are still there, as far as you making the choice of going full samurai or being more, like a ninja to some extent, or more of a shadowy figure or a ghost per se, I think as long as you still have those choices to make, and then that kind of ultimately plays out which armor you get at the end, kind of thing, that I'm fine with that. I like the fact that there's the wolf that's wandering in the game or in some of the scenes, which I'm wondering if you eventually, have that as a companion that you can, have them, sick them on people kind of thing. I like a lot of the things that they showed. The fact that there's going to be snow areas and things like that now. I think they only had that really in the multiplayer because, well, no, there was stuff that was rose covered, and I
Yeah,
think
I
they
didn't
had
play the
snow.
multiplayer portion, but yeah, yeah, good point.
Yeah.
I'm wonder like a lot of people was pointing out like, hey, where's Jin and and stuff
Mhm.
like that. I sort of saw it as like his story is like it closed pretty well. Like
Yeah.
you're like, okay, like you could kind of move on from that. That's kind of what I thought about it and focus on different ghosts. I thought that was a really good decision.
Yeah.
Um, seems like we're going a little bit forward in time too. So if
Mhm.
we ever did want to revisit Jin in like a DLC or something like that, I'm sure they could still do that. It kind of reminds me of like Assassin's Creed, right? Where
Mhm.
they had Altair as the beginning, then they had Ezio. Um, and Ezio was so popular that they kept going back to him because people
Mhm.
just loved his character. So it might be that with situation with Jin in the future, but yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it was super cool. Like that change to her character.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think all my notes on Ghost of Yutei like were just graphic related. I'm like, hey, I wonder if they could have, because it's more of a strategy thing, right? I'm just thinking like if you're showing off a brand new system, PS5 Pro, and you have Ghost coming out next year, it just makes sense to have some sort of thing with this game where you're kind of leading this game to um like your graphic game where you can show the PS4 or PS5 version and then the PS5 Pro version.
Yeah.
Um, it just made sense to me, but I don't know. Man, I guess not. But yeah,
Mhm.
this to me was the highlight of the show. It
Yeah.
was cool seeing like the wolf. character there. I don't know if that's going to be like your companion sort of thing, or maybe they'll make
Mhm.
a system like before you would follow foxes around in Ghost of Tsushima. I wonder
Yeah.
if like now you're following this wolf. Maybe like they changed that up. Um, I love how the UI in Ghost of Tsushima was technically the environment around you, like the wind you're following,
Mhm.
to just know where to go. Um, so it was like hints of that in this trailer. So yeah, pretty dang cool. Definitely the highlight of the show. Definitely
Yeah.
added a point or two to the show because it was very low for me before that. So let's go to the next one. I just want to go through all these games just so we can like kind of reminisce of like what was at this show, what we thought about each game, et cetera, et cetera, and then we'll give our score. So they showed the Alan Wake 2, the Lake House.
Mhm.
That was something they showed there. What did you think about that?
It's great that Remedy is doing additional DLC. And by the way, it's multi-plat, obviously. So
Yep.
it's coming to Xbox. So great to see some Xbox games on there as well. But yeah, I'm Remedy is good at doing the additional content after the game is finished. Love what they did with Control. Wish they would have done more as far as for Quantum Break, but it took them so long to make it. So I kind of consider some of the stuff that was in Quantum Break, the additional stuff, just all released in one kind of deal. But Remedy is a great studio. It's just I wish they didn't take Epic money and had it where it was on Steam, because then I would probably own it in two places as opposed to just on console. Yes, I'm that guy that's not buying from Epic Store. I'm sorry. I know it's silly these days, but at this point, I just have everything through Steam except for the free games that Epic gives me, and I rarely even touch them. In fact, I have some that are duplicates of ones that I wound up buying at Steam. So it's nothing personal against Epic. It's just I have the Steam Deck, so having everything Steam related just makes it that much easier. But no, it was great to see that they got the DLC. Hopefully, this does better for them than what sales were for the game itself. I know they didn't quite meet their uh, projections or whatever, but hopefully this will convince more people. And maybe they need to do a bundled thing where it's like Alan Wake 1 and 2 with all the DLCs for the holidays, and see if people pick it up that way, because that would probably benefit them to have it as an all inclusive package. And I think more people would probably pick it up at that point if they hadn't already.
Yeah. And listen, I'm a huge Remedy fan. I was one of the people, and Mav and people was laughing at me for this. I was one of the people that was like really excited for Crossfire X because Remedy was involved, and I was like,
Mhm.
ooh, you could get like the physics of a Remedy game. I was thinking like Control, right? You get a Quantum Break, all the physics and stuff that's in that world. With like a first-person shooter, I was thinking like Max Payne.
Mhm.
Like that just sounded amazing in my head. So anything Mav was saying, I was like, nah, this is gonna be awesome. And yeah, that game was. I still had a good time with that game,
It,
but it was yeah, yeah.
it had its fun moments, but it almost felt like it wasn't even their B team that worked on it. It was kind of like the guy that was like the intern, and they're like, "Hey, can you put this together in like 20 hours?"
They
So
asked
that's
the
kind of
janitor in the back. Like goodness, yeah. So, but for this DLC, it's really first off, it's really cool that they're expanding their universe.
Mhm.
Like I love Control. I love Alan Wake 2. I still need to beat Alan Wake 2. I still haven't beat it. I got freaked out on this one part, right? I haven't gone back. Um, but it's cool that they're combining both of the games. Like if you play Control, if you play Alan Wake, in Alan Wake 2, there's a lot of references to Control. And like in different things you pick up, and it's this kind of saying that like the control unit that's in Control, they are kind of like getting pieces of forgot what it's called. Like basically there's different universes that are kind of being contained in that
Mm.
one building, and then that building is helping mitigate it from going to the outside. When it does go on the outside, that's what the control unit is for.
Yeah.
Um, and so Alan Wake kind of like hints at that, and it's like it's just cool that they're expanding like two different horror games in a way. It's not really true horror, but it's like mystery kind of horror,
Mhm.
and I was hyped when I saw it. Like, ooh, let's go! So this was actually another highlight for me, and it wasn't even like a PlayStation game, but it's like they showed it here, and I was definitely hyped for it. Um, I want to. You guys are going off in the chat, so let me actually read some of your guys' stuff. On the chat so we can have that conversation. RJ was saying Sony is charging $200 more for PS5 Pro just for it to be on par or have similar specs with the Series X. You know what's funny? We actually talked about this a long time ago where like when the PS5 Pro comes out, this will actually help the Series X. And we're
Mhm.
saying that because there's so many games where the Series X has higher resolution or higher frame rates and stuff, and then we talked about the ones that where the PS5 may perform better, for example, and then it'll have an update where the Series X will perform better. It goes back and forth, and we talked about why that is on the show a couple times. Really just relates to the market of developers prioritizing the PlayStation, kind of leaving Series X in the dust in some cases. But having PS5 Pro, because Sony is the market leader, could lead to almost better performance for the Series X. It could, not really guaranteed, but because of you kind of think about it with the Series S, how it's like the kind of the reverse. So the weak one in a lot of cases would be the Series S, right? Um, and but that led to better performances for PS5 and then the Series X. Um, so hopefully people developing for PS5 Pro can do vice versa, but it's really time will tell if that's true or if that will be the case. But yeah, it's only charging $200 more for it to be on par. Maybe, yeah. There's a lot of PS5 games that aren't like you'll see so many comparisons. Digital Foundry just stopped doing it after a while. But there's a lot of games on the Series X that have higher resolutions than the PS5. That's just a fact. So now that is finally kind of the PS5 Pro version is finally the Series X version in some ways. So I don't know. It is complicated
Yeah.
topic, but um, that could be
I
the
think what we
case.
could probably expect is like if in knowing digital foundries, they'll probably point it out more. There'll probably be maybe more native 4K PS5 games where some of the Series X games will be native 4K in some spots and then down res at certain like intense spots. But if you look at the PS5 in those same instances, those were like somewhere between 1440 and 1800 P type of thing.
Hmm.
So we'll see how it goes. But I
Yep.
think they'll be on par frame rate wise. I think they'll just be that you'll have, like you said, a higher resolution on the PS5 Pro, which if you're sitting 2 inches away from the TV and staring at pixels instead of the overall picture, I guess you'll notice a difference, but it's probably not the way to enjoy the game. But I don't know. I don't. This is one of the main reasons why I wasn't really hyped up about it. It was just that now they can some of their games can finally do some of the things that were doable on Xbox, like the ray tracing on track stuff.
Yep.
Um, I don't know. We'll
Yep.
we'll see how developers cater to it, but we've all said before, if they start using the tools, and it's not RDNA 4, stop listening to knuckleheads that don't know what they're talking about. Um, if they start using the tools that are now more in tune with the RDNA 2 tool set, then that'll just wind up benefiting, Xbox in general. So we'll see. I I think this gen is only got a couple more years anyway, so we'll see how it wraps up. But if 2026 is the catalyst for when Xbox changes over to the next gen, it'll be like a restart button all over again. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
yeah, we'll see. And Xbox is just in a very interesting position here. Talked about that, where you have the PS5 Pro, being like very minimal changes compared to the PS5. And then if Xbox releases their next gen console in 2026, um, they would be the console to have for GTA, depending on how much power they're pushing. And Cerebon saying like, "Hey, we want to make this really powerful," so it leads me to believe that they're going to be pushing power in the next
Mhm.
generation as well. Maybe with a handheld dock. I have no idea what they're gonna do,
Mhm.
but that could be very, very interesting. In the race to GTA 6, because honestly, that's what all this is who has the best strategy, um, for GTA 6, because that is probably one of the most important games, coming up.
Yeah.
So we also got understanding saying showing Wolverine would have made it difficult. Now I'll wait on PS6. Yeah, on again, it's just weird strategy things. Like if for this showcase, if you're gonna show a state of play, and you're like, hey, I on the state of play, I'm going to mention the PS 5 Pro. You would think like, hey, we have Ghosts of Yute, I believe is how you pronounce it, coming out. We have
Mhm.
Wolverine supposedly coming out very soon, next year, or if it got moved, then maybe 2026. I don't know if they moved it or not, but that's a game that's supposed to come out soon. If you want to hype people up for the PS5 Pro, those are games I would show for the PS5 Pro. It just makes sense. And those are games they opted to not really do anything with the PS5 Pro. Um, got looks amazing on PC. You guys are talking about Ghost of Tsushima looking amazing on PC. I haven't played it on PC. I definitely got to check it out on PC though. Decado says I'm ready for Control 2. Heck yeah,
Yeah.
me too, man. Um, you got Legendary Yobi saying Crossfire X's story was amazing. I tried the multiplayer, it was terrible. Really?
Yeah, the multiplayer was terrible, although you could kind of game the system. Instead of shooting people, it was better to run faster and stab them with a knife and then just spawn camp behind them. So when they spawn, run up and stab them. Uh, that made it more fun, although you were getting cursed at and called all kind of names, but type of deal. But
Mm,
the story, it was interesting, but I did stick with it long enough because there was the whole mix up on how it was on in Game Pass. Like you got part of it in Game Pass, and then the other part you were going to buy, and I was like, that's not what I was told. It was all supposed to be in Game Pass, so I chopped it up or chalked it off as whatever studio made it, not blaming Remedy, but blaming the initial studio behind it for them not having it figured out on how it was supposed to be in Game Pass for the whole thing as opposed to just I guess one act or one chapter or something. So
yeah.
it was kind of mixed up all around. But the story was, it wasn't I don't think it was Call of Duty level, but it was definitely interesting because you had like that see-through suit or stealth suit or something like that,
Oh
which was pretty
yeah.
cool.
I'm trying to remember that. I honestly, maybe it wasn't that good because I can't remember a single thing of that story. But I remember just having a decent time with it, liking destruction. I like how open the map was. That's all I remember. Like my thoughts were on that game. Like I was like, oh, I like um how the map was. Like some of the buildings was kind of more open than I expected.
Mhm.
Um, But yeah, I really can't remember. I don't think I played the multiplayer, but from what I understood, it was like Remedy was handling the story portion, and then their regular team was doing the multiplayer. Um, but yeah, I haven't played the multiplayer, so I couldn't tell you. Um,
Mhm.
you got Mr. Waffle saying the AWE expansion introduced the share universe in Control. Oh yeah, I didn't even play that. So I guess this is the second thing kind of related to Control, right?
Mhm.
Um, because I remember there was an expansion. I just couldn't remember since I didn't play. I assumed that this was like the reintroduction of the expansion, but I guess it's probably the second part. Or yeah, I guess so. But cool. ST Reborn says none Steam launchers, fuzzy, easy to get your Prime games, Epic and
Mhm.
GOG all running on deck. That's what he
Yeah.
says. Facts, facts. Yobi says Control 2 will conclude her brother's story, right? He scared the shit out of me. Yeah, yeah, he was creepy. I did not like him. What else? You guys are going off. The Sousa, if GTA is delayed, it will be Xbox Series X to launch game. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing, right? That's where I was like, they probably have the winning strategy here. We'll see. It's very early to tell, but in my opinion, you have the PS5 Pro where it's not really selling out right now. Besides the collectors editions and stuff like that, I'm sure. I kind of want to talk to Psycho about, but I don't know how honest he'll be with me because he's a bot. But I want to see how well the PS5 Pro is kind of selling. I'm just curious, um, because I wouldn't want to buy a $700 console, but I'm curious how much the Sony fans will. Um, so we'll see what those numbers are. We'll see
Mhm.
how well it's going to do. Mikado says Control 2 should be the universe at large. The central characters of the game should start coming together. Yeah, I can't wait for that. Control 2, like what I love about Remedy games is always the physics and things like that. So I can't even imagine how they're gonna push that even further. Poison Maniac in the Insomniac leaks, Spider-Man Venom game was 2025 and Wolverine game was 2026. Got you. I couldn't remember because I know they had the Venom game, they had Wolverine, and then they had Spider-Man 3 Part 1 and then 3 Part 2 because they're going to split the third game because money, I guess. So that's going to be interesting. So okay, so it's 2026. So then I would just ask you, my question would still be the same. Would be like, why not show the Venom game for the PS5 Pro? It
Yeah.
basically becomes the same thing. Um, if you're really trying to push this for people to buy it, $700 is already a lot. Your comparisons aren't showing very well. It's like oh, this one has more people, this one has less people. Why does the PS5 Pro have less people? Oh, like this one has more contrasted shadows. It just doesn't show very well to me. Um, in these comparisons, even Digital Foundry, they have to like zoom in 200, 300 times just for you to see a difference. So my if I was the CEO of PlayStation, I would be like, okay, well, this is not showing very obvious comparisons. Maybe we can do that with our new games or something. I don't know. I'm just trying to help them out. Sousa says, "Don't tell Tim Dog it's not selling out. It's still available in Canada at Best Buy." Um, yeah, yeah. No comment. Uh, Legendary Yobi, I think Wolverine might have got pushed back further. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool. Yeah, you guys are killing it. Let's get through this showcase. We still got a couple more games to get through. I'm almost speed run it so we can
Mhm.
give our final rating. So we had Arc Age Chronicles. What did you think
Yeah.
about that one?
That one looked pretty cool. I think it's kind of like an MMO to some extent, but overall, uh, the visuals weren't as polished as like what is that, like Kingdom Come Deliverance kind of look or anything like that. But it was a good looking game. Looking forward to it. Wasn't like one of my highlights. I still think Hell is Us and Ghost of Yotai were the two big ones for me. But it's one that has my interest. And it's coming to Xbox as well.
Yeah, a lot of my highlights um were coming on other systems. I actually wrote what my highlights were, but I want to get through the list.
Mhm.
Most of it were coming to the Xbox. Um, so yeah, Dragon Age. They actually for Dragon Age. Before I just I kind of skip these. Dragon Age showed more of a lengthy spot of gameplay.
Mhm.
Um, the I'm just gonna be honest. The combat didn't look very appealing to me. It kind of looked like the magic wasn't really hitting the boss, and it looked like it was kind of awkward. But it's been getting really positive reception. So I'm wondering if it's just the way it was showing, whatever.
Mhm.
But like from other snippets that I didn't see here, that I've seen other places, it looked amazing. So
Mhm.
um, that's just my honest thoughts for this specific presentation. I think in other places it looked great. So what did you think about Dragon Age showing up here?
I
That hair
actually like the
physics.
I actually like the combat.
Nice.
I think the big thing about it was the way you get your companions to do like the combos and things like that. So that way, hopefully, it has more of like a damaging or an effect over time on the boss. I do know what you were talking about as far as like the one magic spell where she had like the dragon thing
Oh
that
yeah.
would look like it would whip around and it didn't really look like it was doing any damage. But I think that might be just they probably should have showed different like player types instead
Mhm.
of just the mage. I think it was that they were showing. They should have shown like the warrior or something
And
like
maybe
that, like the
that was
sword and
it
shield
was it
stuff.
because I was like, this doesn't look like it's connecting, and to me like connecting and like hits are what makes a game like really fun for me. So like
Mhm.
if I'm like hitting a button and it's like super satisfying, I could play your game for like hours. So
Yeah.
that's what I kind of look for. But yeah, go ahead.
No, but I think it might have been a bad choice as far as the magic that they showed because it like you said it didn't seem like her dragon like ghost dragon thing that was spinning around her was really doing much to any of the boss. I don't know if that was supposed to be more of a defense thing or if it was supposed to be offense, but that was the one thing that was kind of like a little bit of a downer. I know there's some other visual like character creator level stuff that people are a little upset about, but I hope they take a look at Dragon's Dogma because I love that game as
Yeah.
far as like it's in kind of like a similar vein to some extent. Not the exact same lore, obviously, but um, if they borrow some of the things you see in the character creator for Dragon's Dogma, I'll be perfectly happy with it and probably pick it up. But other than that, there were aspects of the combat that I've seen in Mass Effect and that I've seen also in Anthem, as far as like those combo things where if you have like fire and ice and other like status effects and things like that. So that's the main thing that stood out to me. Characters look good. The character, and I can't remember who said this, but it is a definite thing to take notice of. Like when you create a character and it looks like their armor and everything, and the character looks like it fits with the rest of the group, and it's not like a standout where they look like the only goofball wearing like a bucket hat or something like that, as opposed to like the rest of the characters that are your companions and things like that. I think they did a good job as far as having it where everything blends in into the look of the game or the overall styling and stuff. So, but combat, other than that dragon spell or whatever she was doing, everything else looked fire. But the dragon spell was like it just felt like that didn't
Yeah,
land, or
again,
maybe it was a defense thing or
it
something.
was weird. Like I did not feel that way with other clips that I saw. So
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying. Like I seen it in other as like other smaller clips of like fighting in it. I was like, ooh, that looks solid.
yeah,
For some reason when I was seeing it here, like what the heck? It kind of looks a little bit off, but I couldn't kind of explain why. It just
yeah.
looked like the spells weren't connecting or something. But overall, I think I am going to get this game. I am just worried by So I love BioWare, but the BioWare I love is gone. So I've been trying to accept that over time. Uh, um, and in terms of like some people, I seen you mention like the character creator thing. I think first off, all the hair options are dope. It's cool that they added that many hair. You usually just don't get that much attention in like character creators, so that was really cool. I think people really are just complaining about that one class with the horn, the two horns or whatever, and how it basically it just looks like a big forehead. And then, honestly, I feel like they did that for technical reasons. Like that just me just spitballing. I honestly think they did that because when you're mocapping the face and stuff, they if it's similar to the other faces, it's a little bit easier to motion target it. But it's still possible if you wanted to make it to a similar style like before. But I feel like they did that for tech reasons. I have no proof of that. That's just the first thing I thought of when I saw like people kind of complain about it. But overall, looks cool. I'm gonna kind of just speed through one more, and then we'll just say what our highlights were and we'll give our rating. So, um, they did show Power World. So Power World was here. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on Power World showing up?
Well, aside from the controversy with the lawsuit going on,
Yeah,
it's great. You know, I know this is going to probably sound like a catchphrase at this point, but when we all play, we all win. You know, so it's finally coming to PlayStation,
yeah,
and it's funny how I know a lot of people before were like down in the game because oh, it's an Xbox exclusive, but we don't want it here over at PlayStation. Now a lot of them are going to probably wind up playing it and trying to platinum it. So it's great that it's coming over. We had our run with it as far as having first access to it. Still a large player base both on console and PC. And it's about to get a little bit larger. We'll see how um, their community builds their bases or destroys other big bases and stuff. So or if they go through some of the same things we did where they wind up capturing the some of the Pokemon looking creatures and forcing them into labor type of stuff. So we'll see how that goes. But fun game. Not really my type of survival game, but it was still a fun game to give a try. Now the PlayStation cats get to give it a try as well. So hopefully they have fun with it.
yeah. It's cool seeing it here. Something I like about Power World is the style of it. Like immediately I was able to tell that was Power World. So that means it has like its own kind of distinctive style. It is interesting that the whole lawsuit going on in the background. If for those who don't know, Power World is being sued by Nintendo. I don't really. What is it even being sued for? Because I don't think it was characters.
No, it's
Was
a mechanic. It's supposed to be capturing of a creature kind of
it's
thing.
so crazy. Such a dumb. I really hope that they lose. The whole problem is Nintendo has a lot of money, so it's not even about like if the lawsuit is like legit or not. It's just
Mhm.
who can last the longest.
Yeah.
Um, so I
And
don't
they're
know.
only doing it in Japan where they probably have their best standing. Like if they were to try to do it in the US, it'd probably get laughed out of court.
Yeah,
But Japan, they have pull. It's a patent they have.
yeah,
Like Poison was mentioning. We'll see how the courts judge it. I know in the past in Japan they've had rulings against Nintendo, so maybe this winds up being the same thing. But
yeah,
if they back Nintendo on this with capturing a creature in a device like a ball device, I know that's going to be a problem for maybe one or two other games that have that. But I think Nintendo purposely waited for them to be as popular and make as much money so they can get a piece of that pie for free kind of
yeah.
thing. So we'll see how it goes if it's in Nintendo's favor or not. I'm rooting for Pocket Pair. Just always root for the smaller guy, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm rooting for them too. And honestly, it just comes from a place where I feel like Nintendo has been so mediocre with the Pokemon games, and they feel like they can just keep doing that, like because no one is gonna sort of challenge them on it. Like they just keep making like they don't even really try with the Pokemon games. It really feels like so when Pal World came, it really just proved to people that they um like this is something you can do outside of the things that the formulaic thing that you keep doing with the Pokemon franchise. It's not specifically Pokemon, like it's as guns and some other stuff. There's definitely not in a Pokemon game,
Mhm.
but at the same time, it does some stuff that people have been clamoring for in a Pokemon franchise. So in that sense, I hope they lose, and then that Nintendo kind of steps it up a little bit for their Pokemon games.
Yeah.
That's why competition is good. Forces people to try things, and I hope this forces them to try it. So let's just go straight down to our highlights and then our rating,
Mhm.
man. Let's get straight into it. What was your highlights of the show? Some of the stuff we talked about.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, what were your overall highlights? And then let's get a rating. What you think?
Most of my highlights were the multiplats, like Hell is Us, Monster Hunter, um, the Turtles, Ninja Turtles expansion or the DLC, because that was a lot of fun playing that on Xbox. Dragon Age is up there as well. I'm just hoping that they have or they listen to some of the fans as far as the character creator and go that Dragon's Dogma route on some stuff. I know it probably sounds silly, and then Ghost of Yotai, like that to me, those were the highlights. Like Astrobot, great. Don't really care. Ghost of Yotai was the key standout for PlayStation in that showcase as a gamer that's already in the PlayStation ecosystem, it was a 7. And the reason why I give it that high is because one, Ghost of Yotai, and two, there's a lot of games that I'm interested. Well, not a lot, but there's like the games I made mention that were highlights for me, like Hell is Us and Dragon Age, as well as Monster Hunter. I'm probably gonna wind up playing those on Xbox. Now, as a PlayStation cat, that it makes sense. If you're already in the ecosystem, it was a good show. If you're not in the ecosystem, I give it a different score. And call it bias if you want. I look at it as if you're not in the ecosystem and this was to be a showcase to convince you to be in the ecosystem, whether it's to get a regular PS5 or a PS5 Pro, I don't think they match that. So that drops it down to like a 4 or 5 for me at that point. And it's no shame on the actual games in the showcase, but because those games are multiplats, if you're not already in the ecosystem, there's no necessary need to get into the ecosystem unless you're really drawn to Astrobot or unless you're really drawn to Yotai or you're drawn to one of the VR games, which by the way, some of those VR games are already on the MetaQuest. So ah,
Yeah,
7 enjoyed it. Yotai, Ghost of Yotai was the highlight. Hell is Us is the highlight. Dragon Age and uh, Monster Hunter. But outside of that, like if me as a PlayStation 5 owner, I'm still wondering when are we going to find out what else first party is doing besides Ghost of Yotai, besides what do you call it, Spider-Man and Wolverine and or Venom and stuff like that. That's
yeah,
like they just need to talk about the roadmap. Like, what is Cory Barlog and all the other groups working on at this point? Is it another remaster? Is it a remaster or a remake of a remaster? A remaster? Like, enough of the remasters already. Unless you're going to remaster something that's over 10 years old, I don't want to hear it. I really
yeah,
don't want to hear it from PlayStation. So I don't know.
yeah, yeah. Great points, man. I would say some of my highlights. I'm a huge Sonic man, right? I've talked about this in the past. I love Sonic. So they showed Sonic X Shadow Generations, talked about how Keanu Reeves is voice acting in the game. Cool. You appealed to me. That's you got me there. Ghosts of you you I wonder if it's Utah or Utah. I don't really know how to say this yet, but if it's Utah, cool. That was definitely the highlight because that is something that I've been kind of asking for Sony is to have a game that's first party that people really care about, not a remake, not a remaster, not any of this. Um, that is something I've been asking for them, so kudos to them. I had my critiques earlier of like some visually things, but overall, like the game itself, the combat looks like it has or it looks like it has potential. Like she has two swords now. I wonder how they're gonna put the wolf in there. It looks like there's a gun and stuff now.
Mhm.
So just interested. Gameplay. It seems to be like the style of it seems to be referencing movies like Kill Bill, Police Story, different old samurai films. In terms of like the trailer itself. So I thought that was interesting. Um, yeah, there was a couple highlights in there for me. Alan Wake expansion, of course. I love that universe. I still
Mhm.
got to beat some of those games, but I still love that universe. And I, anytime they show Alan Wake or Control, I am there. I am there. Soul Reaver was interesting. I did not know that was. I don't know. I guess I've been asking for like a remake or a third entry into that franchise for so long that that kind of shook me a little bit. So that was cool that it is coming back. Most of my highlights are games that are coming to other consoles. So besides Ghosts, so that was what stepped it up a point for me. And believe it or
Mhm.
not, my rating was a 4. No, I said all that, right? It was a 4 because of Ghost. I moved it up to like a 5. It's an average. It was an average show to me.
Mhm.
Kind of what for the reasons Fuzzy was saying earlier. Like it, if you are looking to come into the PlayStation ecosystem, Sony hasn't been doing that for a while with these state of plays. Like they've had some really awful state of plays these last few times. Like if you are trying to convince me to become a PlayStation player, it's almost like a meme at this point of like how bad their state of plays are.
Mhm.
Um, Now that's if I'm looking to jump into the PlayStation ecosystem. Like you can almost have two different ratings for that. If you're a PlayStation customer, like dope, I am so hyped for Ghosts and stuff like that. Cool, that can probably jump it up a few points. But if I'm just like kind of looking like, what can make me buy the PS5 Pro, which was in the show, right? Like the
Yeah.
PS5 Pro was in this show, and it's supposed to kind of convince you to buy it. And I feel like they are not doing a good job at um, at convincing someone to buy it because of the fact that you can't really see the major differences. You can't feel a difference. So it's just not really showcasing very well, in my opinion. Um,
Mhm.
and the the times they could have shown it is where it stays at the 5 for me because you also had opportunities to show the PS5 Pro in a better light by showing games that's supposed to come out next year. Um, and that's where I'm like, bro, you had it right there. So that is why the show is a 5 out of 10 for me. It's an average show. It's a 5 because all like a lot of those games, Alan Wake, Sonic, Arcade, Soul Reaver, those are games I vibe with. But it's not enough for me to jump into the ecosystem, which is what I look for when I watch these shows. If I'm not super invested, how can this show kind of convince me? And they've been focusing on third party shows for how long now? Like it's kind of crazy. um I am glad they're starting to make some first party in there. This is
Mhm.
definitely one of their stronger state of plays in a while. Like I rated their other ones way lower,
Yeah.
because they just showed third party and had no roadmap for the future. You had no idea. So believe it or not, this is a higher rating for me than their other shows. So 5 out of 10 for me. Fuzzy also gave it, I believe you gave it a 5, but a 7 if you are in the PlayStation
Yeah.
ecosystem because
Mhm.
Ghosts, which is awesome. Um, so yeah, that is our official PXE rating score. If we average it out,
Mhm.
it would be basically the same. So 5 out of 10, basically for both of us.
Yeah.
So let's go to the. Oh yeah, any lasting thoughts before we go to Tokyo Game Show?
No, I think now it's up to Sony to show more of what they have coming in the coming years. Like that's got to be the chant from the PlayStation crowd now. Like, show us what you got, kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's going to be 2025 here soon, and if you only have Yotai to look forward to, I mean, sure they'll have MLB. Is Fair Game going to be 2025 as well? Is that, or has that been pushed back silently? Venom, what, Wolverine, what, something. Come on, first party, show up. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird because if you are the leader in the industry, like you would think they would be leading the way with these first party games, but really it's about their brand, like how well their
Yeah,
consoles are being bought for, and they are really taking advantage of that with like games of like Horizon, which we talked about earlier. They're upping the price of the original Horizon so you can buy the remaster. They're just doing a lot of shady stuff, and I don't vibe with that. So that really that's just a personal thing. Like when I look at PlayStation, there's the business side of PlayStation I really don't vibe with because I am all about, as a customer, I look for like the best value possible. As a gamer, I get busy, things like that. So when I see you do like tactics like that, I really don't vibe with it. So they really gotta show their roadmap soon. I guess we gotta wait for the next showcase. This is like the third or fourth state of play where I'm just like, please give me something.
yeah,
Overall, 5 out of 10, not bad. Average showcase. So,
yeah.
the Xbox Tokyo Game Show was also a thing. Let me put up the gameplay of this. So they showed quite a bit as well. I remember Mav actually got up. It was like it showed at like 4 a.m.
Hmm.
I was really close to trying to get up for that stream, but ooh, I couldn't. I was like, sorry, man. I'm going back to sleep. But listen, you had people come up at 4 or something a.m. to watch this show. Um, and they had some things to announce. So let's go through some of these as well, and then we'll also kind of do what we did, give our rating for it. So for the Tokyo Game Show, we had Metal Gear Snake Eater. What did you think about Snake Eater?
Oh, it's looking great. Like, for the most part, let me just make sure.
Yeah, and I'm trying to pull it up on the screen, and I'm gonna give you this link too, so you can look at some of the stuff I'm looking at.
Yeah. No, but with the way Snake Eater showed, it looks great. That's the way you do a remaster. Make sure it's more than, 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah,
And actually go in and upgrade the visuals. Looks like they've done that. Looking forward to it. Didn't really play it, when they originally came out. I think at that point I was still playing, NASCAR simulation stuff on PC back then. But yeah, it looks great. I'm pretty sure we might talk about Ubisoft later. We
yeah,
need
yeah.
a new Splinter Cell, but having, an MGS, this one being redone, yeah, I I'm looking forward to it. I didn't think originally I was going to like it, but yeah, the visuals are way better than what I've seen the original gameplay of the game, and it's like perfect timing for like that stealth. politics, military, espionage, kind of all rolled into one kind of thing. So looking forward to it.
Yeah. Um, I I love the Metal Gear franchise. So, Metal Gear 3 was one of my favorites. So, like, I would say like Metal Gear 2 for me, like nostalgic wise, was always the top. So I'm replaying that right now. But 3 is really close. I would replay the song Snake Eater on repeat. I had a burnt disc that I had like my mixtape of CDs I would play. I had like on there I had the Metal Gear 3 soundtrack like Snake Eater. And then I had a like the NBA Street soundtrack on there. Like I just went in the menu. You can like select songs. I took the audio of that so you can actually hear like choo choo me switching songs and stuff. I don't know
Mhm.
why I did that, um, but yeah, I love Metal Gear 3. So when I'm looking at the gameplay and looking at the clips, it it's weird to like I never thought I would give Konami a compliment in a while. Um, like I thought, just based on the direction of the company, I had no idea they would come back to this states where
Mhm.
I mean they are remastering a work that someone else already did, but I give credit to them. It looks great. Um, so whoever is over there at Konami making sure that this game is faithful to the original, I give full credit for.
Mhm.
So props to them. We also seen a couple things. We seen like Age of Mythology,
Yeah.
Overwatch 2, and then we seen StarCraft remastered.
Mhm.
What did you think about that? StarCraft remastered and StarCraft 2 is coming to PC Game Pass
Mhm.
on November 5th
Yeah.
this year.
I think it's a start of something great in the sense that if enough people show interest in this, or we get enough people playing it on PC, we'll probably see that come to console as well. I kind of wish they would just put it on console, especially if you have like Game Pass Ultimate. Allow them to play it with keyboard and mouse. I mean, technically, you support a lot of games now on console with keyboard and mouse. Allow this to be playable that way, and then work towards doing the controller support for those that don't want to bother with keyboard and mouse. And we're hearing also some rumors in the background about maybe StarCraft Ghost. So this is an IP that I think Phil was excited about when he first started talking about Activision, between this and like Guitar Hero and Tony Hawk and stuff like that. So hopefully they use this as a twofold, W or tag team kind of thing, where you got the RTS aspects of it, and you also have like maybe the first person, or make it a third person shooter where it's in that universe. So you would have another sci-fi basically classic that you can call on. Like they have Doom, sure they have Halo, but
Yeah.
it always helps to have another one that could probably be another $1 billion franchise for you. So it's great that they're doing that. And we kind of had this feeling that they were probably doing something, and the fact that there might be an incubated, StarCraft Ghost somewhere in the works somewhere, I'm all
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah, I hope so. This is to me it's like it's cool to see, right? But to me it's kind of like it signifies what could be. Kind of like the future. Like this means that they are still looking at that franchise, right? A lot of people was like,
Mhm.
are they even looking at StarCraft? Like what the heck is going on? Like that is a game that a lot of people played and all of a sudden they stopped doing everything for it. So this is kind of proving that behind the scenes they're looking at StarCraft, they're looking at some of those franchises. So that was to me like a torch moment. Like, hey, they're still still working on it, still thinking about that franchise. So
Yeah.
cool. It's coming to Game Pass. I'm excited to see it. We had a couple other games. We had like a sprinkle. We had like a montage moment. It had Tanuki, Threads of Time,
Hmm.
uh, We Love Katamari, which is cool. It's It's now available on Game Pass. I think it says, which is cool.
Hmm.
Gotta check that out. I used to play that. And then Metaphor showed up. So
Yeah.
what were your thoughts on Metaphor or any of those games if it appealed to you?
I haven't tried Metaphor just yet, but I'm hearing some positive things as far as a lot of people in the gaming community that have tried it, and you get some of your progress carries over to the full game when it releases here soon. So I think the relationship that Sega and Atlas now have with Xbox is a great one in the sense that nobody would have thought that we were going to get like some of the personas on Xbox just a few years ago kind of thing, or even a few months ago possibly. um and Atlas came through, and now we have like their newest IP, their latest creation, and it stands the potential to be as popular as Persona or even more so. And we get, early access to it as far as the demo, and it's going to be on the console at the same time as it's on other platforms. That's huge. Like that's a big step forward in all of the, gaming that can be from the East. Having Phil and having Sarah fly out there to all those different, developers and publishers out there, it's paying off, and I'm looking to give it a try. I need to get the demo downloaded, but I'm not normally the stop or like the, what do you call it, turn-based guy, but what was it, Yakuza Like a Dragon kind of, changed me a bit in the sense of I can now look at it because it's a modern day turn-based stuff
Yep.
is a lot more it's a lot faster than what it or at least it feels that way. It feels more fluid than it did, years ago kind of thing. So I like that it's like quick, choices. All right, and then you have to either defend or you take a beating kind of deal. So yeah, I like so far what I've been hearing about Metaphor. Love when they showed some of the anime like cutscene stuff for like some of the
Oh yeah,
trailers.
looks great.
So the combination of the anime, the combination of the character development and all that stuff. Yeah, I got to give this demo a try and get some of that progress carried over when I buy it on release type of deal.
Yeah, and I was actually asking people on Twitter before the show. I was like, what are your guys' thoughts on Metaphor? Because I really was thinking about trying out the demo, seeing what people thought about it. Everyone's like really loving it. So I'm really vibing with it. So I definitely got to check it out. Um, Poison mentioned, like, did you mention the Schreier thing about StarCraft yet? So I honestly forgot about it till you mentioned. So thanks for mentioning it, Poison. But basically, Jason Schreier, good friend of the show, good friend. He blocked me a while ago. He says Blizzard is developing is working on a new StarCraft shooter.
Mhm.
I'm reading an article. It basically says Jason Schreier, well-known journalist, industry insider, has joined the Unlocked podcast, and he kind of talked about in his upcoming book, revealing that the StarCraft legendary game series is not dead. Blizzard is actively developing a new StarCraft game. So again, it's sort of like a torch moment that I feel like the reason why they want to start to bring people back into the StarCraft universe is because they're possibly working on a new one. So, yeah, didn't even see the article or know anything about that, but cool. It kind of just confirmed what I was thinking initially, anyways. To start to get more eyes back on the StarCraft universe.
Mhm.
So that seems awesome. I kind of want StarCraft to be like a Warhammer type thing where you just get
Mm,
different genres, kind of different. Could be pretty cool.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So let me see. So we had Metaphor. We had
Mhm.
this one game I can't even pronounce. It's all Atelier Yumia, The Alchemist of Memories and the Envisioned Land. I thought that game looked interesting.
Yeah.
We had Bleach, Rebirth of
Yeah.
Souls, and then Sensuality, Echo of
Mhm.
Ada. Any of those games interest you at all?
Uh, Metaphor has definitely got my interest peaked.
Mhm.
Sensuality is another one. anything with mechs in it is going to be up there. There was another one with mechs that was more of a battle royale as well, but
Mhm.
Sensuality stood out more for me. I think for the Altair one, I think from what I'm hearing, it's kind of like a similar to Final Fantasy, original Final Fantasy, but obviously, different characters and whatnot. But um, glad to see that it's coming to the platform. Like, if I'm not mistaken, that's um, I think an older one from Square, if I'm not mistaken. But it's one that probably should have been on the Xbox platform long ago, and it's great that it's finally making its debut on Xbox. But yeah, I Sensuality was out of the most recent ones mentioned. That one stood out the most for me, just because of the combat and the mechs aspect of it. Those were the two big things.
Yeah. Um, and this was a thing that Fallout 76 finally gets pets.
Yeah.
So pets are coming to Fallout 76. I've been saying this for a bit, but I think what is in Fallout 76 has been kind of impressing me over time. When it first came out, next to Concord, I would say that was a disaster. Yeah, Concord, and I feel like Fallout was somewhere
Mhm.
in there, just based on like how they were treating customers. Like people just go back and just look at um what Fallout 76 was doing. But from then to now, goodness gracious, this is what I mean when they work on the game constantly. It's like a
Mhm.
brand new experience.
Yeah.
It's super impressed every time I look at that game. Any thoughts on that?
Any game that allows you to have pets is a win for me. I wish I could probably get into Sea of Thieves a bit more because you can have pets in there as well. But yeah, just the fact that they have such a huge community in the East region, because they were showing some of like the bases that people were building and things like that. That was cool. And then to have that now they can have pets in there, and they're going to allow to have more, I guess, props and things like that for your base and stuff that are, um, I guess, more of that region as far as the design and style. Yeah, it's great to see that they continue to support Fallout 76. And like you said, when it first came out, I remember the controversy over the tote bag, the
Oh yeah,
controversy over the well, somebody made a website that was like FU Fallout 76 or something.
yeah,
But there was like the coins and things like that that some people were mad about. But I'm
yeah.
like,
Some of the
it's part of the
monetization,
modding
like
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty
And
bad.
and then people were expecting the NPCs to be there and to interact, and they didn't really have that. It was like kind of like you make your own story, which I think some people were fine with, but others were like, wait, we were expecting it to be like Fallout, but we could have our buddies there type of thing. So yeah, they've come a long way, and the TV show definitely helped put more of a spotlight on it. So yeah, they got a bustling community there, having it where that community in that region is adopting that game as well. So yeah, it's great to see that they're continuing to support it and expand on it. But having pets, I guess the next step is for them to figure out how to have pets in what do you call them, in Starfield, or just make a always online
It off while
Starfield,
a few would
which
remain with hay to begin.
fingers crossed happens here in the next 4 or 5 years or sooner. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
yeah, I hope so. And a couple of people are mentioning the StarCraft thing. So while I pull that up, what did you think about Slitterhead? And then we will talk about the StarCraft thing because a couple people are mentioning a couple things. But what did you think about like Slitterhead?
I I like the look of it because it's that nightmare fuel type of game. And just the fact that you're jumping from body to body to fight these other entities. I I remember seeing in the trailer there was a couple of things. It's like, okay, some of the movement looks a little sketchy or whatever, but that's fine. I like the fact that the type of combat that they have, but it was funny where you can have to get somewhere faster, you can make somebody jump off a building and then jump from their body to, somebody on like a fire escape or whatever. Who knows what happens to the guy that you were originally in that, hits the ground, goes splat or whatever kind of thing. But just the fact that they have that type of mechanic in that game, not that I'm going to be purposely making people jump off of buildings, but I just want to see what that's going to be like. Like, do you have like a some sort of like reputation thing that goes down depending on how many people you sacrifice by doing stuff like that? But it looks like a fun game, nightmare fuel, but in a good way. Like, yeah,
Right.
whatever there are those tube. I'll just refer to them as tube demons. That were on that the one guy was fighting. There was like three of them or whatever.
Yeah.
That was a little weird, but other than that, some of the other enemies and things don't look so quite so bad. But it still feels like nightmare fuel. Like I don't know if I'm gonna be having nightmares after playing the game, having to fight tube demons and some fiery wire sorcerer, sorceress, or something like that type of thing. So yeah, it looked pretty cool.
Yeah, I really vibe with the style of that game. We'll see what it ends up being like in terms of gameplay wise. It looked like I don't know. I like the style of it. I like the creature designs and stuff like that. We'll see about the gameplay. It feels like the gameplay could go either way. It could be like really fun and solid, whatever, and or it could just be like trash. I really can't tell. It's hard to tell from the from the trailers and things like that. But yeah, some of you guys are mentioning StarCraft, so I'm gonna pull up a clip that Poison actually gave me. He sent me a DM of a clip of Jason Schreier. Let me know if you guys could hear the audio. We tend to like mute the audio of the gameplay and stuff happening. Let me know what you guys think.
To begin incubating, of all things, a new StarCraft shooter. Perhaps after StarCraft Ghost and Ares, which is another canceled Ghost is something that my audience knows about, people know about. Ares, you got to read about in this book to find out more about. Perhaps after Ghost and Ares, the third time would be the charm. So
thumbs up.
Is that a thing that's going on there right now that perhaps if it isn't canceled, if it's continues, that we'll hear about at some point?
If it's not canceled, I mean, that's a strong, it's kind of, this is Blizzard after all, and their history with StarCraft shooters is not good. Yes, that is a project that, as far as I know, is in development, or at least as of the time that I wrote this book was in development, which is, yes, they are working on a StarCraft shooter. StarCraft is not dead at Blizzard. I suspect that, yes, this one will make a lot of headlines. I had a feeling that it would. This felt like such an interesting and useful nugget to include because it really just shows you that, like, Blizzard cannot, what's that Brokeback Mountain? Like, I can't quit you. Blizzard cannot quit StarCraft shooters.
Let's see. Most of the developers relate.
So yeah, that was the clip. Go back to. Okay. Yeah. So basically, yeah, he's kind of confirming that they're working on another one. And Trier is such an interesting individual. It's just the way he comes across sometimes. So what did you get a chance to hear it a little bit? Or,
No, but I remember hearing it before, or hearing something about what he was saying and them incubating or having the game kind of like in development and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that that's the case because we've heard some buzz about something like that before they even made mention of the remasters, and I'm hoping that continues to be the case. Like we remember hearing about Blizzard doing the what was that Odyssey game that eventually got canceled before Mikey Barr got booted, kind of deal. I'm hoping this one sticks around. I hope they can figure out a way to bring that shooter to the consoles either towards the end of this generation or at least by the launch of the next gen. But yeah, that sounds like a cool idea. I just hope they don't change their mind or something like that. They're like, oh, not as many people downloaded and played StarCraft as we expected. Yeah, shutter that. No, hopefully they see that as like an opportunity for them to, expand the universe and give us a new IP. Well, not really a new IP, but a new take on an IP That's the big thing right now.
Yeah. And essentially, he was saying, reconfirmed Blizzard is working on a StarCraft shooter. Comes after StarCraft Ghosts and Project Ares, stealth action game and a Battlefield-like FPS, respectively, both canceled years ago, with Ares ending in early June 2019. So it's basically Schreier is just pumping up his new book. Is interesting. He banned me, or he basically blocked me. I can't remember why. So I thought what he did last time, he was like promoting his book last time, and he was doing some shady stuff. And I was like, yeah, are you just promoting your book? Because you're kind of being. And then yeah, he immediately blocked. So,
it was probably when he was talking about 343 or something like that. Because I remember there was a time he was going in on 343, like, oh yeah, they're all disorganized and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh yeah. Well, what about now we see, what about Bungie? How organized is Bungie? Oh, they're out there shopping for cars again. Oh
yeah. Yeah, I probably made some snarky comment like why are you hyper focusing on whatever. But yeah, interesting. StarCraft. It honestly, I just think about all the IP that Xbox owns, and you just forget sometimes that Xbox owns the Guitar Hero franchise, or that they own Tony Hawk's games, or StarCraft, or World of Warcraft is
not True Crimes. I'm sorry, not True Crimes. That's a movie.
Yeah, I was like True Lies. I mean, that's a great movie. Love that movie. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, they own just so much. So many different games. But when I think about StarCraft, I'm like, yeah, that's one I've been wanting for them to come back. So I hope it does a good job. All the things. So let's go to the next game. So Slitterhead, we talked about. Looking forward to that. Silent Hill composer is working on it. We had Starbites. What did you think about Starbites? I thought it was like pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm trying to see which one is Starbites.
So it was kind of like it was a sci-fi kind of looking game, turn-based RPG. Let me see if I can actually pull it up on the screen. I forgot when they showed it on the stream. Let me see if I can.
Oh, I think I know which one. Okay. Is that one more of a top-down battle royale one? Was that the one that kind of looked like it was a brawler, but from like a top-down view?
I think so. I'm wondering if I'm mixing it up with another game. In my head, let me.
Sci-fi turn-based RPG.
This was okay. Yeah, it was kind of like I'll send you the trailer too. It's not top. Well, yeah, it is kind of top down when you're traveling.
Okay, I think I remember this. This was another one that had mechs in it. It was like this was the showcase of mechs, basically.
Yeah.
As far as it looked cool. I mean, it has more of like a what do you call it? Like a Fortnite type aesthetic to it a little bit, but like a little bit more animated, or a little bit more of an anime mix to it. But I like the fact that they had mechs in it. So this was, I was thinking of a different one with that top down brawler. This one wasn't a too hateful type of deal. I just like the fact that more and more games now are going with like that, mech warrior kind of, battle stuff.
Heck yeah. This was kind of the mech show, and it was also, to me, it was almost a pixel show, because the whole latter half of the show was a lot of pixel games. But I guess it's because it was showing the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster stuff. Are you going to be playing the Pixel Remaster for any of these Final Fantasy games?
I probably will. I'm debating on if I just wind up getting 6 or if I wind up getting the whole deal. I'm probably going to wait until they do a sale for the combo for all 6 of them, but they're not as high on my must play list. Like I'm still trying to finish Octopath Traveler 2 at this
Good.
point.
Yeah.
But like I do like some of the classic, RPGs that they have, and it's going to be one of those things where I'm not going to try to sink in hundreds of hours again into them, but it's going to wind up being on my playlist. Like I know a lot of people are like, wait, why is he jumping from this game to this game to this game kind of thing? It's like, oh, this will make good for like my daily gamer score point type thing where you get the 5 Microsoft rewards points. That's probably when I run out of a game that I can easily get like a gamer score point out of it, then I'll probably hop into those and then use that as my daily, where it's like, oh, I'll do a mission or fight an enemy in the woods or something like that, and then get my gamer Microsoft rewards points from getting an achievement or something like that.
Yeah, I'm thinking about checking it out, but I don't know. It's like it's almost too late. I don't know. It feels like there will be tons of hours for me to be invested into a Final Fantasy game. So that's kind of why I tried out. I guess it was Final Fantasy. Which one is with the teen boys on a road trip? And then
15.
Is that 15?
Mhm.
I liked 15.
Yeah.
That was the first one I tried. I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. I guess I'll play the next one when it comes out, and then it didn't go to Xbox. So I was like, okay, well, dang, how invested do I want to be in this kind of franchise? I don't know. We'll see. I might try it. Might not. It's not similar to you. It's low on the priority list. Very cool that it is here.
Yeah.
It's kind of the first stone Square Enix games thrown. So dope. Psychonaut says Threads of Time stood out the most for me. Love the mashup of Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy games. Yeah. That was pretty cool. Threads of Time was pretty dope. And you said he bought the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. Let us know what you think. Psycho, if you like it, I probably like it. I remember Psycho actually he convinced me to try out it was the Dragon Quest Builders. Like we were in a party one time and he was like, try this out. I was like, and I actually really liked that game. That was, I should go back and finish that, but that game was amazing. Definitely recommend that game for people who haven't tried it before. So we're about that time. Let's get into our ratings. Of course, they showed the Trials of Mana, Legends of Mana, Game Pass, and then they showed like Fragpunk and a couple other things. Overall, let's get into our ratings. What were your highlights? And let's get into our official ratings. So we rated the State of Play 5 out of 10. But now we're rating this Xbox showcase. So what are you rating the Tokyo Game Show?
Now, not as many things appeal to me, but overall, knowing that Square, even though we didn't see Final Fantasy 16 or Final Fantasy 7 yet, they are showing their commitment behind Xbox as far as having more of their titles come to the platform. Plus, some of them came at that time to Game Pass. So having those that same day launching Game Pass as they announce them coming to Xbox was pretty cool. I gave it a solid 7, maybe a 7.5, just because it's a good list of games, good variety of games where a handful of them appeal to me. Most of them are kind of like, oh, I'll give it a try kind of thing. Probably the sillier games are the ones outside of like the givens. Like they showed a little bit of Indiana Jones, although I don't really count it towards this show. I think they even talked about even like with Shattered Space, which that's coming out Monday. But like the big thing was the one with the little raccoon, something Toka Pony or what?
Oh yeah,
let me see. Tanuki Pond Summer. Like that one looks kind of cool. All you need is help, which I call it Tetris on acid. That one looks like fun. I actually kind of like more of what I saw for Fragpunk this showing in
Yeah,
comparison
same.
to what they showed before.
Like the card system that they kind of
Hmm.
displayed. Yeah, it looked interesting this time around.
Yeah, but overall, I give it a solid 7.75, and that kind of stands whether you're in or outside the Xbox ecosystem. Like if you're outside the Xbox ecosystem, sure, the stuff from Square is probably not going to appeal, but there was a ton of other stuff in that showcase. Some of the stuff, like there was one game that I think is actually an exclusive, and I can't remember which one that was. Wasn't Thread of Time? Which one?
It was an exclusive.
That's only like Xbox and PC from this show. And I can't remember which one that was.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Um, was it something that he was showing like towards the end? You think?
It may have been the Shurjang or something like that. No, because I think it was on PC as well. Where the
Yeah,
heck
if
is
you
it?
guys know game, post it in the chat. We'll talk about it. But
Yeah, there was definitely one that's not coming to PlayStation, or at least not initially. So having at least one of those was cool. The only disappointments I would say for TGS, and they're not real disappointments, it's more of like things I would have liked to see that didn't happen. I would have liked to see something more about OD, because I
oh
always
yeah,
kind of thought that OD might land before Death Stranding 2. Nothing at the showcase, but not the end of the world, obviously. But I would have liked to seen that. Um, Kiyosante made mention of this, and I didn't even think about this, although I'm still thinking it's a 2026 game, but it would have been cool, especially if Forza Horizon 6 is going to be in Japan or in Tokyo for its next release, to at least give us a hint to let us know that it's going to be there, and help with the build up leading up to the game. Um, but with it being possibly a 2026 game, I guess it's a little early to show it. So maybe TGS next year we get to see it, um, or something to that effect. But overall, solid 7.5. A lot of games like it. I would have to say there was at least one game, even if you're not necessarily a fan of all the games from the East, there was at least one game shown or something from that showcase that you could probably take away and be like, all right, yeah, I'll give that a try, or I'm looking forward to that game. Slitherhead is up there for me on that. Yes, I know some of them are multi-plat. I guess if you're outside of Xbox, maybe that would detract or take the score down a bit, but I think of it as a 7 overall, just because of the variety of games. Finally, some of the Square games coming to the platform, and the fact that they had at least one of the titles, which I think it may have been that when it starts with an A, the Ashura Zhang or something like that
mhm.
one, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, yeah. Heck of a highlight. I think. All right. So my highlights were definitely Metal Gear. Talked about earlier how much that means to me, that franchise. The StarCraft remastered was just a cool pillar moment for this show. It kind of displays what they want to do in the future, or what they're working on behind the scenes, get people to remember the franchise as they start to do a new version of it. They're kind of doing that in a variety of ways, kind of like showcasing a franchise where they have future plans for it. Um, Mostly with Fallout and stuff like that right now because of the TV show. So I thought it was interesting. Metaphor, I will play the demo. I've been hearing a lot of good things about it. That was revealed to be released here. I'm pretty sure it was like play the demo now, right from the showcase. And then Slitterhead would be my other highlight. I just thought it looked interesting. It's cool to see the composer of Silent Hill here. Love the style and things like that. Hope it's a good game. In terms of like, so I look at the showcase the same. Like if I was in the Xbox ecosystem. But someone, RJ, I was like really thinking about this because RJ put something earlier. He said, "Why are people trying to bash Xbox TGS showcase when Xbox has been carrying the gaming industry for the past 2 years when it comes to showcases?" So this is why I will be looking at it differently. Just because like we've gotten a showcase already, so this is kind of just like a cherry on top. Like how I'm kind of looking at it like within the Japanese region, within Tokyo, how are they progressing? It was weird to me because I talked about this in the last episode actually. Like Xbox has struggled in other regions, especially Europe and Japan. So for a while, Phil Spencer has talked about like, hey, I want to increase our presence in Japan, make new relationships and stuff like that. So they finally had a Japanese developer. They took away their only Japanese developer. So I'm like, okay, dude, does Japan even matter to them? So when I was watching the show, I'm like, okay, Japan still matters to them. Now, how well can they do by pushing it in Japan with their partnerships? That's kind of what I'm looking at when I'm looking at this show. It's different from the Sony showcase where I've been waiting for a proper showcase from them for like 3 to 4 years now. So like when they added Ghost, I'm like, finally, you guys are doing something that people have been asking for. But that was still an average show to me. This is also a pretty average show to me. I thought it was weird that like, does the Japanese audience care about Indiana Jones? if I'm being like honest, it's cool that it is getting localization. I think Poison or someone mentioned that like that Indiana Jones is getting localization. Awesome. They have been struggling with that for several games getting localization for. That is the one thing, like Sony pulling out of Japan and in a lot of ways, being a Japanese company, like that should be where Xbox kind of steps in and tries like really hard. So I'm kind of looking at this in a couple different lenses than the Sony showcase because of all the things I just mentioned. But overall, I thought it was a solid show. It was a decent show. I'm going to give this a 6.5. So I thought it was average. It was like slightly above average. And the things I'm looking for, like I think it's just because of like JRPGs I go in and out of. Like I find it's a genre I can really click with super well randomly. Like I'm playing like Phoenix and Persona, like I'm really vibing with the Persona series and things like that. But it's not like my go-to. Like for some reason I have to be like, let me just try this out, and that's why I love Game Pass. And usually I'm very surprised, but for some reason it's never the first thing that I'm like, oh, I'm going to buy this game. That's just my honest thing. So even going into the showcase, you look at my when I'm talking to Mav and stuff about it, I'm like, I'll see what's there for me. But yeah, I mean, from the highlights, those are games I'm looking forward to. It's not something I would clamor to the Xbox for necessarily, but I'm already on the Xbox ecosystem, so I just rate it differently altogether because they've already had a killer showcase. This is again just kind of distressing. Like, what else you guys are doing? I wasn't even expecting much here to begin with. Like bro, you told me to wake up at 3 a.m. and I wanted to see some crazy. I want to see OD and some other stuff. But no, I thought it was an average showcase. Like but they've been like, they just had a 10 out of 10 showcase for me not even that long ago. So this was just like, okay, cool. What else? What else are you cooking up? How they can improve for me in the future, for like just Japan based games is, I guess, since you're not gonna have it internally, like you had a Japanese studio, it's gone now. I guess just keep fostering those relationships with Square Enix, Capcom. Just keep making deals. I guess like the fact that we're talking about Metaphor being on Xbox is already a step in the right direction. It was um like if I were to talk about Atlas being on Xbox 6, 7 something years ago, I'd be like, ha, that's never happening. Here we are. So props to Phil for that. Um, decent show. I enjoyed both showcases. They both had stuff for me. But yeah, I gave the Sony showcase, it was 5, it was average. I give this one, it was average, but it was a little bit better than the Sony showcase. So 6.5 for me. So yeah, you guys in the comments post what you guys' score was. I think some of you guys said I gotta go watch it, check it out. It definitely had some good pacing and stuff like that. It had some cool dev moments where they're talking about the game. So if you guys like some of the games we mentioned, I'm sure it'll have some cool stuff in there for you. Any last thoughts before we move on to our, seemingly it might be our last topic. We've been going off for a minute.
No, I think Xbox is moving in the right direction as far as expanding their presence in Japan. I know a lot of people have said give up, and it looks like with them continuing to get the support that they're getting, it's showing that it's paying off. I'm hoping that the trend continues. I'm hoping we see less of the situations like with Black Myth Wukong and the other one, the Zero Blade thing or whatever. But outside of that, I can't complain. They had a decent show, and much like you said, they've had bigger and better shows throughout the year between the June showcase and even Gamescom. The fact that they were here, and I remember some people were like, "Oh, they're not even going to show up," and then they showed up.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe next year that will be an even bigger presence. Maybe OD is the highlight, for next year's show. But I'm looking forward to everything that they're doing in that region, and it's going to take a while before they grow even further out there. But the fact that they're still fighting to do that shows that they still care and they still want to compete and still expand or grow their player base. So that's always a good sign.
Yeah, heck yeah. So 6.5 for me. It could push to a 7 depending on me playing some of those games, but 6.5. And reading some of you guys' ratings, Big Mad Mo gives it a 7.5. Close to you, Fuzzy. Winter Shoulder, 6 out of 10 for TGS, 5 out of 10 for Save. Yeah, so similar to me. Big Mad Mo also says, did they say 1,400 games in development from Asian developers?
Yep.
Cool.
They have a ton of devs working on stuff, and we get to see bits and pieces of it here and there. But yeah, it's games take time, but the fact that they're still working over there and getting those games, that's all I care about.
yeah. I am glad they're starting to push into that region, and I hope they continue to do it, because Sony is just winning by brand, and then Nintendo, similar. Like, people love the consoles over there. So whenever you get competition and stuff like that, it's always good. It's always good for everybody. So I hope they continue to push in that region. So our second topic, it might be our last, because I didn't expect us to go into that realm of of the game show and us break it down, but here we are. So our second topic is actually about Ubisoft and the trouble they might be in. So let me actually pull up. just for now. You guys get my me and Fuzzy on top of a car for a second. So yeah, so Ubisoft in trouble a little bit. So we had Assassin's Creed Shadows being delayed. So this game is kind of being riddled with controversy, some unnecessary, as we discussed on this channel a couple episodes ago. We had it was me, Fuzzy, it was Luca, a great episode. We kind of just talked about basically people being mad about a black person in Japan, and how like who cares in a way. Go watch that episode, it's pretty good. So yeah, Ubisoft had to kind of dial into a couple problems. So they had to apologize for using stolen imagery. When I was looking this up, it was funny because two different things popped up when because Naughty Dog actually lifted artwork from Assassin's Creed 4 in its trailer. I was like, what the heck? This was a thing. Completely forgot about this. And they had to issue like, this is a mistake. But Ubisoft had to issue an apology kind of regarding the unauthorized use of a flag in its concept art for the upcoming Assassin's Creed Shadow game. The company kind of used a flag of a real world, I believe you say like Sekihara or something, reenactment group, in concept art for what was in Shadows. Shadows released like a book, or like a concept book. Yeah, they had a flag in there that was basically for a reenactment group. And apparently it was pretty offensive. But honestly, that wasn't even the biggest thing with Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's always been about Yasuke. People kind of forget that there's another character in this game, which could have led to lower pre-order numbers. I really don't know. There's a lot going on with this game. Honestly, some of the pre-order stuff was way overpriced to begin with. I remember we were talking about that in that episode. I'm like, why is this price to begin with? So we could get there. There was a report that Star Wars Outlaw wasn't doing particularly well either. There's a ton I want to say about Ubisoft. If people don't know, I've worked there. I've hinted at on several shows as I was a contracted client for Ubisoft. I will say my time there wasn't pleasant. It was one of the worst experiences I've had in the gaming industry, and it did play a big component to why I left the gaming industry, was because of Ubisoft. But I did get to work on some pretty cool games when I was there. But yeah, I've experienced a lot working at Ubisoft, and it's always some controversy stuff going on. We were talking about it in our DMs, about Star Wars Outlaws not doing well. Pong was basically saying in our DMs like that dude needs to step down. The how do you say their name? It's like Yves brothers or something.
Yves Guillemot.
Yves,
I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, that they need to step down. Yeah, a lot of things going on. I can't even say it's one particular thing. I would just say, without me diving into what I personally know, because I feel like that gets into dangerous territory, because I do know some things of what was happening when I was working there. But what I will say, I really feel it comes down to they've become very formulaic in some aspects of and fans have been wanting them to go in one direction. They're like, no, we need the money, so let's go in the guaranteed money section. And so franchises have just kind of been just dying off, and now here we are today. So let's go to you, Fuzzy. There's a lot, in my opinion, to say here. Like there's just so much I could say about Ubisoft. But what do you think some of the main problems are? Like, why do you think that like their stock prices are going down? Why do you think that Star Wars Outlaw didn't sell very well? Like, what are your thoughts on overall on that?
Okay. I'll start before the whole Star Wars thing and Shadows. Like, my biggest gripe has always been they don't seem to listen to the fan base that is buying the product. I've noticed with games like The Division and Ghost Recon, and this is no shade to content creators in that space, because there are some that are great at it and there are some that are in it for themselves. And there's a couple of individuals that they listen to that their input on, like the Dark Zone, for example, pretty much made it like a toxic hellhole to some extent. Now there have been pushback, and other players have kind of brought it back to, I guess, the idea or the original thought process behind the Dark Zone. But there were certain things that they focused on. They did things along the lines of listening to feedback from people that weren't necessarily looking to keep the game relevant for the masses, but relevant for themselves. They would even fly some of them out. Now, some of the people that they flew out to some of these events definitely had awesome input on that stuff, but a lot of them kind of led to the decline of those series. And then they kind of abandoned Division 1 to do Division 2, which is understandable. But then most of the stuff that made Division 1 appealing, they didn't put into Division 2. They improved a lot of things, and I do like many aspects of Division 2 over Division 1, but they kind of dropped the ball in a lot of spaces. And some of the things that people were requesting in Division 2, they put it in the mobile game, but nobody that really plays Division for fun really wants to play the mobile game, because unless you can figure out how to play it on your PC by emulating your phone through that way, which creates a little bit of lag and it's a pain in the neck to do, it's not going to be as enjoyable. Division is not something that should be played mobily, but there it is. They tried to make a mobile version, but they had like this persistent space, much like Destiny, where you could have public events, but they didn't capitalize on it. And that's something that they must have in Division 3, considering how well the first Descendant is doing, like where you can join up with randoms and go through missions seamlessly and not have to worry about, your progress, their progress, or the loot that drops and things. So it's almost like the fans are yelling at the top of their lungs, do this. We will still buy microtransactions. We will still play this game. We will buy expansions. And they're like, you know what? We heard Battle Royale is a thing, but they didn't do or hop into the Battle Royale thing at the right time. Like when they had Ghost Recon Wildlands, that map, even though it's huge and that would have been ridiculous for a Battle Royale, that should have been the better game that they went and did that with, but they chose not to. So there was
that game died quick.
Yeah. Well, Wildlands, I think, lasted a little bit longer than Point Break, but then they had to like reinvent Point Break 2 and 3 times. And then they finally figured out, oh, we need to put the AI, companions back in there, because nobody really wants to go solo.
I was just thinking of Hyperscape. When you're talking about like Battle Royale, I think it was Hyperscape.
Yeah, that didn't last
Yeah.
very long. And that's part of, like, you've mentioned it briefly earlier, like they've been chasing these trends, and they were the ones that kind of set the trend. Like, people don't realize, even though, yes, Escape from Tarkov technically was one of the first, because the guy started it way back when, but it was not an extraction shooter per se. Back then, it wasn't. I mean, it was like a pet project in 2015-ish range. Technically, The Division with the Dark Zone was the first extraction shooter. You would think they would have all the rewards and accolades to go along with that, but they ignored it. They kind of chased off the people that really worked on that, One of them stayed and was going to do Heartland, and then they canceled that. The other guy, they wound up chasing him out, and I think he's over at like WB or somewhere now. And it's like, those were the perfect people to have for the Dark Zone. You could have had this whole genre to yourself of extraction shooter, and you squandered it. And they've squandered so many other things, like the range of support that they give for some games, like what is it, Rainbow Six Siege, is great. They actually turned that game around. They kind of did the same thing with For Honor, although For Honor never got as big as like a Rainbow Six Siege. But the fact that they kept putting or investing in that game and doing stuff and all that stuff was huge as far as making it so they could, keep that player base going and make whatever money they could off of it. But it just, they probably should have put that attention back into the division and the Division 2. They put a skeleton crew on it while they had the rest of Massive working on what was that? Avatar, and then also on Star Wars, which Avatar, from what I've heard from people who have played it, it's a beautiful looking game.
Yeah,
that's great.
It's gorgeous.
But I didn't, maybe it's just my personal biases or whatever. Great as a movie, I didn't really see the interest in it as a game. I knew that the Snowdrop engine would make it look great, but I didn't see it being an appealing game for me to want to spend money on, as opposed to me spending more money in the Division kind of thing. Star Wars, I think they did a great job. I have yet to play it, but then again, that whole pricing structure on their stuff, which, yeah, I used to be the guy that was spending the $100 on like their Ultimate Edition, which now their Ultimate Editions are closer to 140 or 150. And then they were like, well, we're trying to get people used to not buying their games. They don't need to own them. That's great. I'll eventually sign up for your Ubisoft Plus, but because of how you guys act with certain games, like you pushed out Skull and Bones after, like, they should have pushed it out when it was just basically the ship battle stuff from Black Flag, like a couple of years after Black Flag, like before they even did Assassin's Creed Origins. They should have already had that out. That should have been a thing, but they didn't do that. And because they didn't do that, and they kept reiterating and spending money and spending time and reinventing it and redoing this and redoing that, that it wound up coming out to the likes of a wet fart kind of deal. And then they wanted to charge $70 for it, like when it should have been either a $40 game or a free-to-play game. I can't remember the name of the company. I think it was a Vendy Group or something like that. That was
they tried to take over Ubisoft, and then Ubisoft like bought their. I did a whole video on it. Like Ubisoft like essentially made it so they couldn't purchase stocks from them for like 10 years. They basically bought it back somehow or did something. Yeah. So they couldn't hostile takeover for at least 10 years. But those 10 years are up. So if they wanted to, they could do it again.
And I remember everybody cheering like that was a good thing. And deep down, even back then, I was like, God, I wish they would take them over. Because I knew the Guillemot family or whatever, because they were chasing trends as opposed to being the innovators that they kind of started off with things like Watch Dogs, with things like The Division, the way they were, reinventing kind of with Ghost Recon and stuff. That should have been the leading moving forward type of approach. But instead it was like, well, how can we turn these gains into cash, or piggy banks or something? And the first guy that they brought on to do the monetization for the Division 1 kind of killed it. And it's like, oh, we're sorry. We didn't realize making this key process where you keep on getting random keys for random gear that you don't really want, and you have to spend more money to get more keys, was a bad idea, as opposed to just make it so I pick the gear I want, I pay for that gear, and it's mine. I'll give you $5 if you give me the $5 gear I asked for, as far as like the outfits or like the hats, the beanie caps, or like bomber jackets and things like that. Like, I'll buy that stuff. Don't tell me, oh, well, you have to buy $25 in keys to have a chance at that $5 worth of stuff that you actually want. No, just allow me buy the $5 of stuff. Like, it's just bad management. And I've never worked there. I've I knew somebody that worked freelance for them. Well, not freelance, but like was an outside contractor for their website stuff.
Yeah.
And he he had a different perspective of it because all he had to do was make the sites for Assassin's Creed and stuff.
Yeah.
But even that, it was like I was amazed at like some of the stuff he would tell me, and it's like, well, why did they cancel that? Why didn't they put that in the game? It's like he was like, oh yeah, they're pulling this out of this game. They originally were going to do this, and now it seems like they're not even going to bother with that online aspect or whatever the case is. And I'm like, but that would have been what I would have been playing. I would still probably be playing it to this day. But no, it just it always felt like, I guess, the ownership or leadership over there just, they may have been gamers when they started the company, and then they lost their sight on what gamers actually want, or they decided to not listen to them because they're like, oh, we know what's best for you, as opposed to the consumer knowing what's best for themselves or what they want to spend their actual money on. So I've always wanted the Guillemot family to get out of town, or Vivendi to take them over or whatever. I mean, even though I'm more of an Xbox fan, and it's my preferred platform, I had even hoped Sony would take them over. Like before the Activision deal where they were doing the streaming, I was like, please, Sony, like I because they were within that price range before they even bought Bungie. I'm like, they're what, a couple $1 billion? That would be better for Sony to buy, because then they could take and have Jade Raymond do the, Assassin's Creed stuff. She can get her series back, and that could be part of the her studio and whatnot that they acquired. That would make sense. They could take the Tom Clancy IP and actually put it to use, maybe use that for in place of SOCOM or something. Like, take that Tom Clancy IP and use it as it was intended, as opposed to that X Defiant crap that they originally were going to call a Tom Clancy game, where it had neon graffiti and whatnot. And it's like, that's not Tom Clancy. Like, Tom Clancy's probably rolling over in his grave, although he took a lot of money from him. So I guess he was happy with whatever the deal was. But if he saw X Defiant, he would have probably been like, I don't even want my name on it. I don't know. Just take the name off. Just don't call it Tom Clancy. Just call it Tomfoolery or something at that point. But I don't have anything positive for the Guillemot family. I feel sorry for some of the devs over there. I know some of the people, I don't know them personally, but I know of some of the people that, were team members for Massive or for, was it Red Storm, that wound up leaving because of the shenanigans going on behind the scenes. I've heard some of your stories, and it's like, I can totally understand why you would want to leave the gaming industry. It just feels like, if anything, where's Schreier's memoir on Ubisoft? It's like he's missing out on one for Bungie. He's missing out on one for even what is the one that does Spider-Man? Insomniac, because they've had their struggles too. Where's the one for Ubisoft? Like, forget about Xbox. Fine, Xbox is a mess, whatever. Yeah, you've said that before, but it was like Bungie's house was burning down right in front of your face, and you didn't say nothing.
I thought it was interesting. He mentioned like Microsoft is a mess because of their contradictory statements, while Concord was like the biggest failure this year, possibly ever. And you had Insomniac. Yeah, like that was probably the biggest failure probably ever in gaming. Like, to invest that much money, that's definitely one of the biggest failures. And then you had like a situation like Insomniac where like, let's say they were doing pretty well and they sold pretty well, they still had layoffs and things like that. So it's just like, I don't know, I would be looking in various directions, not just Xbox, where they are essentially a lot of people was like, oh, Xbox is failing and things like that. No, they are doing something where they're trying to make more money. It's a difference in strategy. Not everybody agrees with it. I don't agree with it. But if you're going in a direction where you're just like, oh, I am essentially putting games on more platforms, not because I'm failing, but just to basically look at the gaming industry and be like, I want to make as much money as possible, as opposed to Sony's strategy where they are trying to make 12 plus live service games to make up for what is already in their portfolio, which is mostly single player games. So they devise a plan because they're reading the leaves like, hey, we're not making a lot off of our games. How can we make more? And then you make a game like Concord, and then we'll see what Marathon is. It's also a hero shooter. That's pretty different. I want a book on that personally, but yeah, I agree. You hit so many different points, and I'm definitely gonna talk about some of it, but Slow-Mo and a couple other people that were in the chat, you were mentioning some stuff, so I'm gonna go back a little bit. Slow-Mo said they advised them to make changes to the Dark Zone that only served them and their content, and that was to the detriment of the game overall. Decado followed that up with Tencent will not budge from their holdings, so they will most likely have a hostile takeover by them. Could be. AJH says UB are like Microsoft, but tenfolds worse. They aren't really forward thinking and are too easily trend following. I 100% agree. You said they should have a fire sale. Slomo follows that up, says they used to do these cool workshops. I remember this. They used to do these cool workshops where they would fly out regular gamers to their country in Europe, and they would play the new content and give good advice on what works. I totally remember that. And I also remember like I don't know, like Assassin's Creed games to me, what is cool, like, okay, I have my criticisms of like the latest Assassin's Creed games. They're in a completely different direction as a game series. I was hoping they went another way. They're going in a completely different way. But my criticisms of the Assassin's Creed franchise are basically because they went in this other way where it stopped becoming about assassins, and it stopped becoming about the creed. What is the name of your game? Assassin's Creed. So, like, honestly, that's where most of my criticisms came from, of where they start to diverge for the franchise for the sake of chasing industry trends. But at the same time, like, it's gone so far in a whole different direction where I'm just like, all right, well, this is where we are now with Assassin's Creed. A lot of people love the direction that they're going with it. I personally am like, well, my problem with where they're going with the Assassin's Creed franchise is where they kind of, what they've done to the Ghost Recon and Tom Clancy area, which is like they had a DNA for what the game is, and they decided like, let's go in a completely different direction. Like when you think about Tom Clancy and when you read his books, because I read some of his books, it is very strategic. It's all about strategy. It's all about if you have like a team breaking into a room, what is the best way to do that? Like that to me was the Tom Clancy. What was interesting about Tom Clancy is like, here's a map. You have all these stealth gear and how do you break in? But now it's mostly about like running and gunning. There's no strategy, and you can dive and roll and jump out of helicopters and stuff. It's like every franchise they've had, they have lost their way to chase an industry trend. And I feel that if I were to just kind of trace back to what is the problem with Ubisoft, it kind of goes back to that, of them losing their way with so many franchises, not really listening to the players, and just kind of just doing what they want. What did people want out of what's their ship game?
Skull and Bones.
Skull and Bones. What did people ask? What did people ask for Skull and Bones? We want what was in Assassin's Creed 4 and just make it like cooler. What did they do? They were like, nah, let's not do that. Let's put in some microtransactions. Let's change the gameplay completely. Let's like they do not listen to people, and they keep trying to go their own route, and every single time it slaps them in the face. It's kind of crazy how many times they've done that. We read some other stuff. I wish Ubisoft would remaster Blazing Angels 1 and 2. I'm with you. You guys are on fire. Somo said earlier, you said, yes, Yannick is back. They did a live stream talking about the latest PG. Yeah, that's cool. ST Reborn, also Avatar did not meet sales target. That's something you mentioned, Fuzzy. So Star Wars, Avatar, and Skull and Bones cost them several $100 billion. Thanks, Fuzzy. That was the other one that missed the mark. Yeah. It's just it's games that should be successful. You think about it on paper, a Star Wars game should be pretty successful. It's a huge IP, huge franchise, and it missed the mark. I think Poison said earlier, I don't know where that comment was, but Poison was saying earlier that it's possibly because it was buggy, like, or the AI was a little off. Yeah, I feel like that was part of it. Like, whenever I looked at the AI, I'm like, that just looks like they're dumb. It just like they're looking at a wall while you're shooting at them. They're like, ow, ow, ow. It's just like okay. I know stormtroopers are bad at aiming and dumb, but yeah, that's a little. But some people had a good time with that game. I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I honestly I couldn't tell you what was missing from that game in terms of like people wanting to buy it, because it reviewed well. It wasn't the media like trying to trash that game. Surprisingly, the media loved that game. So I would have to, I don't know, I have to really think about why people weren't vibing with that game. If you guys had in the comments, if you guys have any thoughts on that, yeah, post it, because I actually really curious. Read a couple of your guys, and then I'll post my thoughts, and then we'll get on out of here. We had a possible third topic planned, but we'll just save that for the next show. It's already almost 3 hours. Brett says, if I'm Microsoft, I would write a blank check for buying the rights to Tom Clancy's name and games. Also buy Red Storm via divestment before Tencent gets them. So Fuzzy said earlier, when he was saying like who should buy them, and he's saying Vivendi could be cool and stuff like that. I mean, I agree. But for a while, I was like, no, I think they could change their ways, and no one should buy them and stuff. But honestly, I didn't. I don't know. I guess I was just stubborn on like maybe they could come back to their old ways somehow. But as I was listening to Fuzzy, I'm like, yeah, dang, I think someone should buy them at this point. Just for multiple reasons. One day I will list most of the reasons of like what I faced at Ubisoft, and hopefully I can really just go in. I'm not coming back to the gaming industry. It's more so just like legal stuff of things I think I'm not allowed to talk about. But for the most part, I think Ubisoft has a problem of not trusting their creatives and relying too much on the people who have no creative say whatsoever leading creatives. Where they're looking at the numbers, they're looking at industry trends, and then letting that dictate how they should release the games. I feel like that is a major problem for Ubisoft, where it's really destroying a lot of their studios, a lot of their games. If I was the head of Ubisoft, if I was the leader, I would be like, bring back Splinter Cell, make that a priority, make it an actual stealth game. I would bring back Ghost Recon. I would bring back Ghost Recon to what it was. which is like, sure, if people like the open world kind of Ghost Recon game, cool. You can have that as a spin-off, but for the most part, Ghost Recon, what I knew it to be, was very strategy heavy. You have like maybe 3-4 people. It's more about like breaking into a room and really assessing the gear you have. You don't have like 1,000 bullets. You have like maybe, let's just say like 10, and you figure out the best way to do something. That to me is a Tom Clancy game. That's what he would have liked, I'm sure, if he was still alive today. Something relating to strategy. It's no longer about strategy. I would take Assassin's Creed. I would be like, we're gonna make it about assassins again. We're gonna make it about the Creed again. Now, and adding in all those stealth mechanics and stuff that was in Assassin's Creed. They tried that, actually. To be fair, they tried that with the latest Assassin's Creed game. I'm actually struggling remembering the name. But they started to kind of honor that, what people have been wanting from Assassin's Creed. Cool. Maybe you could do that again. Yeah, I would just look at a lot of what your franchises are, start to reassess them a little bit, add some creativity there. The stealth genre is pretty much dead now. So you actually have a market there if you really want to. I don't know if it's because you're looking at people having a short attention spans nowadays. Or you're like, no one wants to play a stealth game. I get that, honestly. But I'm still clamoring for it. So I would hope they would look at that. AJH says, I see that Susie Hunter is getting a load of S for saying she doesn't want to play Silent Hill 2. Did you see that, Fuzz?
No. I don't know why.
I haven't seen anything on that. And Nate says, I'm going to ask every week what's going on with Xbox and Fallout. I mean, you can. Like, if you're talking about like the show or what?
It might be that he's looking for like a Fallout 5. I think they are working towards something Fallout 5 related. It's just they're far from ready to announce. I think once Avowed is released, I think we'll get a better understanding of where Fallout might be. Not saying that Obsidian's working on it, but I think once Avowed is out there in the wild, I think you'll either hear something from internal at Bethesda, a spin-off team, or maybe a collaboration, part Avowed, part Bethesda, part even In Exile or something like that.
Yeah,
we'll see.
100%. Like, I just think, if you just think about what the studios are working on right now, ID working on Doom, the main Bethesda team working mostly on Starfield, Shattered Space stuff, and then right after Elder Scrolls is what they're working on. Obsidian working on Obsidian's working on a ton of games.
They have 3. I mean, Vowed is one of them, and then Outer Space 2 or Outer Worlds? Outer Worlds 2.
Yeah.
And then there's another one that's not announced. Like, I don't know if it's a smaller project like Grounded, or if it's something. I'll just say my gut is that it is Stormlands, which was an Xbox One pitch that almost made it. 100-player multiplayer fantasy setting. You're fighting and slaying dragons. But you and 99 other players are in the same instance. So, and it's like kind of like an Elder Scrolls in a way, but we'll see if they can make it happen. It was hardware limiting why it didn't happen on Xbox One. So now that Xbox One is out of the loop, we'll see.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. And it's cool because Xbox does give them more freedom in some ways to be able to try things. That was the main problem with Bethesda of why they got bought out in the first place. I think people forget, like, Xbox didn't just take over Bethesda. It was basically Bethesda was in a position where creatively they start having to make decisions that was for financial stuff. Like instead of like what was actually good for them, they did like the Wolfenstein DLC, which was like pander. They started doing some crazy online stuff. Yeah, just wasn't a good time for Bethesda for a little bit. um Nick said he got a DM about it back in April, and Jesse was begging him to shut up about it. Muted his mic when it has Grub on his show early this month when Grub guessed it on Xbox Era. Grub, I trust Nick. Sorry, I don't know. I'm just saying. Nothing, no ill will to Nick. He pops up in our chat or anything, stuff like that. There's just some people I find more reliable. And
he's definitely spot on PlayStation stuff.
Yeah. So far, PlayStation is his thing, but there's certain things he said about Xbox that still has not come true. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. AJH, got comment. Yeah, all the things. My last thoughts on Ubisoft. I feel like, yeah, we both feel the same in terms of like there's something that needs to change there creatively. Leadership is not there all the way. And until Fuzzy said it, I was like, yes, they do need to be selling out to somebody else. Yeah, I don't know. We will see. We will see. Any last thoughts before we close out, Fuzz?
The only drawback in an acquisition or something like that is they are probably the most heavily employed or employer or the most amount of employees of a studio of their caliber. So unfortunately, I hate to see it, but we're going to have some sort of announcement at some point that there's going to be some mass layoffs. Like I think they're at like 22,000 employees worldwide.
Yeah, I believe it.
And I don't even think Activision, which was a much bigger, financially studio overall, with including Blizzard, I don't even think that they had hit the 20,000 mark. I think they sized up to like 17,000 or so. And then that was part of some of the layoffs. But before the layoffs, they were already downsized to about 12,000 ish or something, I think. And then they had like the 1,200 or 1,900 layoffs or something. But yeah, they ramped up a good bit, to get some of the most recent titles out the door, like your Call of Duty, like your Diablo 4 and stuff. I think that's when they were up to like 1,700. But after the acquisition, I think they were already down to 12,000, and they did some more layoffs and went from there. So Ubisoft at 22,000 people, and they have a smaller output than Activision Blizzard. It's going to get ugly.
Yeah, for sure. What is that? What is that Xbox fighting game? It's like Ultra Kill, like
Killer Instinct.
Killer Instinct.
Ultra Combo.
I do hope that comes back. Like Nate was saying, like he's that Nick was posting stuff he got right in 22. He mentioned that game having a sequel still hasn't happened. I do know Xbox has a couple studios working on several stuff. One of those studios, he was saying, was working on that. They mentioned Gears of War collection happening. That's not happening. He mentioned a couple stuff that has not come true. So that's why, Nick, I'm not there yet. But there's a couple rumors that he did post about, to be fair, that that has come true. And he's posted it before other people. So maybe it's just the things I saw. I don't know. He's just not changed. There. Yeah, things change, right? So anyways, great show, y'all. Me and Fuzzy have a great time doing this with you guys every single Sunday. And you guys come through every single Sunday, and you guys are super passionate. Love hearing everybody in here, and it means a lot you guys is coming in here every single week, just supporting us, just talking games, and we all love to talk about games here. So yeah, appreciate it. So if you guys agreed with us or not, let us know in the comment section down below. Fuzzy, let us know where people can find you, brother, and what you got going on.
Oh, as always appreciate doing this show with you. Always love hearing your takes on things and just, shooting the shit as far as for games. Just love doing this on Sundays. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Greatly appreciate you guys coming through and watching us. And those that watch us on replay, thank you so much for taking the time to check us out. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe. Well, please subscribe if you haven't already as well. We greatly appreciate it. And for those who want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on FSP with this guy right here tomorrow on Fun Speculations channel, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow night or Monday on Fun Speculations channel. You can also find me on Double Barrel Gaming for Xbox Lunch Break Special, as well as Breakfast with Boom, 12 noon for Xbox Lunch Break Special, 10 a.m. on Fridays for Breakfast with Boom, and then Xbox Ultimate Friday night, Shop Podcast for Saturday night. Oh, and if you have a interest in horror films and, just want to listen to people, talk about them or just talk about the horror genre in general, check out my wife's podcast. And I'm on Fridays at 6 called Fright Night with Ferocious Fee. Just do a search for Fright Night, Ferocious Fee. You'll be able to find us.
Yes.
And then hope to be right back here Sunday, next Sunday, same time, same channel. I hope to see you guys here in the chat as well. Thanks again.
Heck yeah. I was just going to say they had a Zombie Strippers episode last time. So I was going to watch the replay. I didn't get a chance to, but I was going to probably check it out tomorrow. So nice. Go check them out. And fun show over there. I forgot to mention the intro. I was in Asheville, North Carolina. And I just dodged the craziness that's going over there. There's a couple of people you guys can donate to. I'll post it on my Twitter, but goodness, I seen some of the floods and stuff going on over there. I was actually at a work retreat. We were stuck in a hotel, and we just decided to leave Asheville around, let's say, 10 a.m. And look back, not even that long after, that place was completely just gone. So if I stayed there a little bit longer, I probably would still be stuck there right now. So we'll definitely give something on my Twitter so you guys can just donate to what's happening over there, because wow, I was very fortunate and lucky to be out of there. I knew that it was bad, but we just got really lucky of the time we left. Like, we just left at the perfect time, because the roads and everything right after we left was just gone. So definitely donate, to what's going on over there in Asheville, North Carolina. It's just crazy. You guys can find me here every Sunday. We're gonna have a great show next Sunday. I want to do more creator type stuff, so I want to feature more creators on here. So if you guys have any books or anything that you've read and you're like, dang, this was really good, and maybe they're indie, not, or if they're super well known, try to get them on the show as well. But as I always say, if you guys agree with us or not, let us know in the comment section down below and why, and we'll talk about it. Let's talk about it. You guys could follow me on Twitter at i3bits. I posted something recently about Starfield, which the Shattered Space posted about an article that was saying it was coming to PlayStation like tomorrow. So it's not there. It's not there yet. I'm sure it's coming eventually, but not yet. So Shattered Space tomorrow. That's gonna be really fun. I'm definitely gonna, maybe I'll stream that. I'll stream that tomorrow. That'll be kind of fun. So appreciate everybody for dropping on by. And we'll see you guys on the next show. Bye, y'all.
Later.